Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Transcendent Insight, From Green Snake to Eternal Dragon. Chapter 1. The spiritual mist is wrapped around the sky, and the sky is thousands of miles high. Colorful rays of light flashed, auspicious air steamed, and cranes danced. The sacred mountain is located among the mountains with endless mountains and waterfalls hanging in the air. From the heavenly palace on the top of Lingshan Mountain, there is a 9-color glow hanging down, covering this area. Outside the heavenly palace, dozens of majestic mountains stand tall. Lingshan towers into the sky, and the mountains are steep and precipitous. The lush green trees are dotted here and there, and the jade steps are picturesque. There is a piece of natural jade at the foot of the mountain, with the words, Qingyan Holy Land, written on it. Among the clouds and mist, you can see the celestial palaces with distinct layers on the top of Lingshan Mountain, looming like palaces in the sky. And underneath the palace that day, there was a small green snake coiled on the nearby boulder. On its 1-meter-long torso, the blue scales were crystal clear, and its 2 black bean-like eyes were spinning around. Hey, I didn't expect that I would travel to a fantasy world. How can I live like this? Zhonglin drooped his head, full of disappointment. 1 day ago, he traveled to this world, and he was not a human body yet. He traveled to this snake's body. Even when he thought there would be a golden finger, God played a joke on him again. There is no golden finger at all. And through this day, coupled with the memories of his predecessor, he also gained a little understanding of the world. This is a fantasy world that can destroy the world and overwhelm mountains and seas at every turn. And he is just an ordinary little snake that can spit. Still a little snake with an owner. Of course, he is ordinary, but his master is not ordinary. His master is a well-known person in Qingyan Holy Land. He possesses peerless immortal talent, beauty and wisdom. He can be called the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation in Qingyan Holy Land. He has the identity of a saint, Xie Qingyao. Xie Qingyao, 18 years old, has reached the 8th level of Tianxuan at a young age, and is hailed as the future hope of Qingyan Holy Land. At the same time, she is the fairy and goddess in the eyes of countless men in the entire spiritual world. As for why such an awesome master would have such a useless spiritual pet, it is unknown. Hey, the strength is still too weak, but it's a bit embarrassing for Xie Yetu. Zhonglin thought of his master, and Xie Qingyao's peerless figure appeared in his mind. Isn't it said that time travelers have systems? What about my system? Isn't it possible that I got lost? Just when Zhonglin was comforting himself about this trouble, suddenly, a prompt sounded in my ear. Ding! Congratulations on binding the comprehension-defying system. The lost system is finally home. Zhonglin was startled by the sudden voice and could not react. But when he reacted, he almost jumped with excitement. Haha, we finally have a system. Zhonglin raised the snake's head, a hint of surprise blooming in his eyes. However, Zhonglin is still confused about this system. The understanding is incredible, and then it disappears. Involuntarily, Zhonglin raised his head and looked at the sky. The sun hangs high in the world and shines brightly. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. Suddenly, the system beep sounded again. It seems I didn't do anything, I just glanced at the sun. Staring at the sun in the sky, Zhonglin seemed to have found a way to use the system. Perched on the boulder, Zhonglin assumed a comfortable posture and looked up at the sun. It's just a bit hard on the eyes. As time passed, Zhonglin felt the discomfort in his eyes and couldn't help but shake the snake's head. Just looking at it for a moment, the sunlight made him dizzy. After resting for a while, Zhonglin continued to look up at the sky. System sounds come one after another. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. Throughout the whole day, Zhonglin kept looking up at the sky. He ignored the disciples who passed by him. As the saint's spiritual pet, his status in the Holy Land was also very high. Of course, it's of no use. In this regard, the disciples saw the saint's spiritual pet Zhonglin maintaining this posture. Although they were curious, no one paid him any attention. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. You look at the sun, realize something in your heart, and create your own practice, Candle Sun Heavenly Fire Sutra. You look at the sun, capture a trace of its essence, draw fire into your body, transform your blood, and evolve into a red flame snake. 2 prompts sounded in succession. A touch of golden sun essence blends with Zhonglin. The originally 1-meter-long cyan body suddenly appeared a fiery red in its eyes. At the same time, the body gradually turned red, emitting a fiery and warm radiance. Zhonglin felt the majestic power emerging from his body, as if every inch of his body was trembling. Hiss! Roaring to the sky, the snake spurted out hot lava-like fire, instantly burning the weeds next to it. Zhonglin's body grew rapidly. His body was about twice as thick as before, and his tail was longer, like a sharp sword, sharp and powerful. A trace of blazing flames spurted out from Zhonglin's mouth. At the same time, a technique called the Candle Sun and Heavenly Fire Sutra appeared in Zhonglin's mind. You absorb the essence of the sun, practice the Candle Sun Heavenly Fire Sutra, your bloodline evolves, and you break through to the perfection of body training. Is this a breakthrough? And it's evolved. Zhonglin felt his own transformation and felt excited. He could clearly feel his power, far beyond what he had before. Now, he is no longer an ordinary little snake. To practice together, regardless of the demon race or human race, it can be divided into 9 realms: Body Forging Realm, Orifice Realm, Earth Profound Realm, Sky Profound Realm, King Realm, Semi-Saint, Saint, Quasi-Emperor, and Great Emperor. Although Zhonglin is only at the perfect level of physical training now, you must know that just before, he was just a scumbag who only knew how to breathe day by day. There is also this sun essence. As long as it can be refined, I believe that I will be able to break through to the Aperture Realm. Feeling the trace of sun essence in his body, Zhonglin was confident that he could make a breakthrough. Running the Candle Sun Heavenly Fire Sutra, Zhonglin began to refine the traces of sun essence in his body, turning it into billowing spiritual energy that surged throughout his body. As the spiritual energy traveled, Zhonglin felt a burning pain in his body, as if his body was about to burn. Enduring the severe pain, Zhonglin gritted his teeth and refused to let go, letting the burning pain spread throughout his body. Although it is only a trace of sun essence, the energy contained in it is very terrifying. I don't know how much time passed, but the aura in Zhonglin's body suddenly surged, and his realm also surged. You refine the essence of the sun and break through to the 3rd level of enlightenment. Comprehend supernatural powers, large and small. 1st level of Tongqiao Realm. 2nd level of Tongqiao Realm. 3rd level of Tongqiao Realm. After breaking through to the 3rd level of the Aperture Realm, Zhonglin's realm gradually stabilized, and his aura returned to normal. It's so dangerous. If the will is not strong enough, it is really possible to explode and die. Zhonglin slowly opened his eyes, and in the depths of his pupils, there seemed to be a wisp of red fire flickering. This sun essence is really domineering. Zhonglin was secretly speechless and smiled at the same time. He has reached the 3rd level of the Aperture Realm, and this wave is truly beyond his expectations. At the same time, he also lamented that it was indeed the essence of the sun. Just a trace of it greatly increased his strength. When you watch the sun, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. It can also increase your understanding. Once again, Zhonglin was surprised when he realized the progress more. If that's the case, doesn't it mean that the sun is my inexhaustible treasure? After all, as long as the sun is alive for 1 day, he can increase his understanding by 1 day. As for destroying the sun, don't be ridiculous. Even if the Great Emperor comes, it will be impossible to destroy the sun. Zhonglin. Suddenly, a familiar crisp voice came from behind Zhonglin. There was some doubt and confusion in his tone. Hearing this, Zhonglin turned his head and saw a woman appearing behind him. The woman is dressed in a white dress, with a beautiful face, skin as good as snow, and a curvy figure, which is very attractive. Especially between her eyebrows, there is a green lotus mark, which makes her become more and more refined. Like a fairy in the sky, she does not eat the fireworks of the world. Looking at the woman, Zhonglin also coiled his snake body and nodded towards her. This woman is none other than his master, Xie Qingyao, the saint of Qingyan Holy Land. How did you become like this? Is it possible that the bloodline has awakened? Looking at Zhang Lin, who nodded towards him, the woman Xie Qingyao was also slightly startled. There was also a look of surprise in his plain eyes. At this time, Zhang Lin looked completely different from before. His whole body was red, and his cultivation had reached the 3rd level of aperture understanding, and there was even a vague tendency to move towards the 4th level. If she hadn't known that Zhang Lin was here every day and was very familiar with him, she might not have believed that the little red snake in front of her could be her spiritual pet. After thinking for a moment, Xie Qingyao could only attribute Zhang Lin's changes to the awakening of the blood in his body. This was the only reason that could explain it clearly. Instead, he looked at Zhang Lin with interest. You've become stronger, not bad, come here. Zhang Lin accepted his beautiful master yesterday. Who could refuse such a beautiful owner? With just a simple leap, Zhang Lin's body shrank in midair, and then his body was wrapped around Xie Qingyao's wrist. So white, so tender. This was Zhang Lin's first thought as he wrapped around Xie Qingyao's wrist. But he just rubbed it gently for a few times and then stopped. It can get bigger and smaller, which is interesting. Raising her arms, she looked at Zhang Lin wrapped around her wrist in surprise. She didn't expect that he would actually awaken to this ability. Wrapped around her wrist, it was like wearing a red bracelet. Ding! You listened to the human language and successfully understood it. With his incredible understanding activated, Zhang Lin understood the human language in an instant. Zhang Lin, who was originally supposed to break through to the Earth Profound Realm before he could speak the human language, could now do so. This gave Zhang Lin a deeper understanding and surprise of the comprehension-defying system. It's just luck that I awakened my bloodline. At this moment, Zhang Lin spoke. Since Xie Qingyao thought that he had awakened his bloodline, it just saved him the need to explain, and he just had to follow her wishes. Open, speak. Hearing Zhang Lin's words, Xie Qingyao was also stunned. A pair of beautiful eyes stared closely at the red snake wrapped around her wrist. Her face was full of surprise and shock. Zhang Lin, a spiritual pet, actually spoke. Moreover, the sound is so crisp and sweet. This was a shock to her. Her seductive red lips were slightly open, and the surprise in her eyes could not be concealed. You know, in the world of cultivation, if the demon tribe wants to speak human words, they need to break through to the earthly realm. Of course, not all demon clans need to break through to the Earth Profound Realm. But those are all monsters with royal blood. And how could she not know what was going on with Zhang Lin? A little snake that looks very ordinary, but just like that, after Zhang Lin awakened his bloodline, he was able to speak human words. Is it possible? A bold guess emerged in Xie Qingyao's mind, and her eyes towards Zhang Lin became strange. A spiritual pet she picked up actually had the blood of the demon royal family. I'm hungry. Being stared at by Xie Qingyao like this, Zhang Lin felt uncomfortable all over. The hunger in his belly made him speak quickly. After hearing Zhang Lin's words, Xie Qingyao finally came to her senses. Oh! He quickly took out 3 fist-sized beast cores from the storage ring and handed them to Zhang Lin. The beast core, the crystal core in the monster's body, contains huge energy. Facing the beast cores in front of him, Zhang Lin recognized that they were all beast cores from monsters in the Aperture Realm, and he was not polite about this. Opening his mouth, a suction force swallowed it into his belly. Seeing this, Xie Qingyao didn't say much, but turned into a divine rainbow and flew towards a divine peak in the distance. The sun sets in the west and disappears in the sky. Then a full moon slowly rises. On the divine peak, the spiritual energy is extremely abundant, and the stars are scattered, making the surrounding environment feel like being in a fairyland. Zhang Lin was lying on the spiritual tree at the top of the divine peak, quietly looking at the night sky without blinking. Next to Zhang Lin, there is a spiritual tree with towering branches and luxuriant leaves. Under this spiritual tree, a figure sat cross-legged. It's Xie Qingyao. She sat cross-legged under the shade of a tree, with a slender figure and graceful curves. Her black hair hung like a waterfall and spread on both sides of her shoulders. She was dressed in purple clothes and her slender and soft waist was restrained to outline a perfect arc. Dancing with the wind, a hosta hanging ear swayed lightly, making it even more noble and elegant. The spiritual energy around her surged crazily and continued to converge towards her. Among them, a small part separated and rushed towards the river forest on the trees. She is indeed a genius saint. This movement is comparable to that of a heavenly being. Looking at Xie Qingyao, Zhonglin murmured to himself. When you look at the Taiyan star, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. The golden snake eyes stared closely at the full moon in the sky. The system notifications in my mind kept ringing. The moon, like the sun, hangs high in the sky. Looks like I guessed it right. Zhonglin felt happy when he heard the prompt. When the full moon rose, Zhonglin looked at the full moon and tried to understand the full moon's thoughts. Since the sun can perceive, then the moon should also be able to sense it, right? In this way, Zhonglin stared at the full moon, and the result naturally made him very satisfied. The moon is the lunar star. Observe the sun and feel the power of the sun star. Observe the moon and feel the power of the lunar star. Walk. Something happened. Raging spiritual energy, crazy riot. The boundless mountains also shook, and loud rumbling noises kept coming. Golden light burst out from the direction of those mountains, breaking through the void and penetrating the sky. The entire mountains and rivers seemed to be resonating. Is there a strange treasure born? In the distance, a woman dressed in white, with her feet in the void and a graceful figure, walked slowly towards the sky. A gust of breeze blew over her face, ruffling the woman's hair. Looking at the scene in the distance, the woman in white frowned slightly. Then, the figure disappeared from the place. Exotic treasure. Looking at the bright golden light in the dark night, Zhonglin's eyes showed joy. As we all know, the bigger the noise, the more valuable an exotic treasure becomes. What's more, this time, just by being born, it shook the 100,000 mountains. It is conceivable that this rare treasure must be extraordinary. If this rare treasure hadn't appeared near Qingyan Holy Land, I'm afraid they wouldn't have noticed it. What's going on? This inexplicable feeling. Looking at the golden light, Zhonglin felt an inexplicable attraction in his heart. It was as if something was attracting and calling him. I feel the call of the exotic treasure to me, it is very important to me. Around the golden light, several powerful auras gradually erupted. Every path has the aura fluctuations of the Earth Profound Realm and even the Tian Profound Realm. Of course, with the strength of Zhonglin's Tongqiao realm, he was no match for them, and there was no way he could snatch the rare treasure. But don't forget, he is not alone, he has a more powerful master. With Xie Qingyao's strength, it is more than enough to snatch the rare treasures among them. Thinking of this, Zhonglin opened his mouth and said to Xie Qingyao. Naturally, Xie Qingyao would not refuse Zhonglin's request. And needless to say, Zhonglin also had the idea of getting the exotic treasure. And now Zhonglin even said that the exotic treasure was attracting him, which made her even more determined to get the exotic treasure. He took Zhonglin and flew to the place where the golden light bloomed. As he got closer, a strange fragrance wafted out. Smelling the refreshing fragrance, Zhonglin and Xie Qingyao's minds became clear. Even Zhonglin felt that the spiritual energy in his body was jumping for joy. Looking down from the air, one person and one snake saw what the strange treasure that burst out with golden light was. It was a golden fruit, with dazzling gold flowing throughout its body, as if made of crystal, exquisite and flawless. All around, groups of monsters were lying on the ground, looking at the golden fruit with greedy longing in their eyes. Perform. Of course, they also discovered Xie Qingyao and Zhonglin in the air. Shiwandashan is adjacent to Qingyan Holy Land, so they naturally recognized Xie Qingyao's identity. But seeing the strange fruit in front of them really made them unwilling to give up. Just looking at Xie Qingyao with fear, they did not dare to act rashly. Jin Yuan Guo, good stuff. It has the effect of tempering blood. If you take it, it will be of great benefit to the cultivation of monsters. Xie Qingyao turned a blind eye to the monsters around her and focused on the golden fruit. She was well informed and recognized the golden fruit at a glance. I see, tempering bloodline is a huge temptation for monsters, and it also has a great effect on me. Listening to Xie Qingyao's explanation, Zhonglin also understood why this thing would be useful to him. Attractive. What a good thing. It's just that the Jin Yuan Guo is not completely mature yet. When the golden color completely covers the fruit, the special lines flow and a richer fragrance comes. It means that Jin Yuan Guo is completely mature. All the monsters present could no longer hold back at this moment. The war broke out. Countless magical powers were unleashed. monstrous flames, thunder, all kinds of energy intertwined, and the energy that destroyed everything filled the air, shaking the world. Xie Qingyao and Zhang Lin stood in midair, watching the chaos from a distance. There is a demon fox whose body is radiating fire, spitting red flames from its mouth and burning all the wasteland. There is a cold python with icy blue electric light all over its body. It sprays ice from its mouth and freezes a space. Zhang Lin, who was high in the sky, was also watching this scene, but he was already laughing in his heart at this moment, just because there was a steady stream of reminders in his ears. Ding! You watched the fire-type monsters fight and were touched. Congratulations on understanding the magic, fire breathing. Ding! You watched the battle between the ice monsters and were touched. Congratulations on understanding the technique, ice sealing technique. Ding! You watched the battle of the thunder monster and were touched. Congratulations on understanding the technique, thunder rush. Ding! You watched the battle between wood-type monsters and were touched. Congratulations on understanding the magic, grafting flowers and trees. The system's beeps are endless and keep coming. The insights of countless spells appeared in Zhang Lin's mind, making his head feel a little swollen and painful. This feeling feels so good. Looking at the chaotic situation in front of him, Zhang Lin grinned. This time it's really not in vain. Zhang Lin was overjoyed. Just by understanding these techniques, even if you don't grab the golden yuan fruit this time, you will definitely not lose money. It's time to end. After a long time, the smell of blood gradually spread, and the surrounding fighting gradually weakened. Finally, at this moment, Xie Qingyao moved. A green long sword appeared in her hand, and as she swung it, streams of extremely sharp sword energy surged out, heading towards the monsters. Boom! The sword energy fell and exploded instantly. The terrifying sword energy swept across the wasteland, killing monsters one after another. Under the illumination of the moonlight, Xie Qingyao's figure looked increasingly ethereal, like a fairy approaching the dust. At this moment, there was the great demon Tianxuan, shouting. Xie Qingyao, how dare you attack us? This sound was vast, rolling and spreading in all directions. Hearing this, Xie Qingyao ignored it and continued to take action. Her identity as a saint was achieved with one sword, so how could she be afraid of a few big demons? You are looking for death. Those big demons roared, and suddenly, a violent energy surged towards Xie Qingyao. Facing those attacks, Xie Qingyao snorted coldly and swung out the sword in his hand. Ding! You watched the battle between the red fire fox and were touched, and successfully understood the red fire fox's natal magical power, red fire sky fire. Ding! You watched the ice python fight, were touched, and successfully understood the ice python's natal magical power, ice in all directions. Ding! You watched the battle of the hurricane sparrow, were touched, and successfully understood the natal magical power of the hurricane sparrow, breathing wind. All monsters in the earthly mysterious realm will possess a natal magical power. Just watching these monsters display their natal magical powers, Zhang Lin felt countless thoughts rising in his heart. I'm afraid those big demons would never have thought that their own magical powers were secretly learned by Zhang Lin after just using them once. Golden Yuan Fruit. A snow-white plain hand held a golden fruit and handed it to Zhang Lin. It was Xie Qingyao who had dealt with those monsters. On her body, the snow-white robe was still white, without a trace of bright red. Thank you, Master. Zhang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked at the Jin Yuanguo in Xie Qingyao's hand. She swallowed it in one gulp and continued to wrap it around her wrist. In the mainland, they are refining the golden yuan fruit. By tempering his bloodline, he believed that he could make his bloodline's power even further. And his ultimate goal is to transform into a dragon. Become a real dragon. When Jin Yuanguo entered his stomach, it instantly turned into a powerful medicinal force, raging in Zhang Lin's body, making Zhang Lin frown uncontrollably. He could feel his blood boiling with the influx of energy. This feeling is very uncomfortable, as if the skin is tearing and the internal organs are burning. The bloodline is constantly being tempered and evolving. Hiss. Zhang Lin gritted his teeth, beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Suddenly, his body trembled. Boom. As if some shackles were broken, Zhang Lin soared from the peak of the 4th level of aperture to the 5th level. Not only that, ding, you take the golden yuan fruit, temper your bloodline, transform your bloodline, and evolve into a heavenly flame python. A piece of gold yuan fruit further improved his bloodline and also allowed him to achieve a breakthrough in his realm. He's become stronger again. Xie Qingyao looked at Zhang Lin on her wrist and felt the change in his aura again, which also brought a smile to her face. This is in line with her spiritual pet. Exhaling a breath, Zhang Lin slowly opened his eyes. The moment he opened it, 2 groups of blazing fire spurted out, enough to burn the void. When you look at the Taiyan star, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. You watch the lunar star, absorb the moonlight, and improve your cultivation. Watching the full moon in the sky, Zhang Lin felt only a wisp of moonlight enter his body. His whole body was extremely cool, and the spiritual energy in his dantian also increased. It actually has such an effect. Zhang Lin was quite surprised. Although he evolved into the heavenly flame snake, he had skills like the Candle Sun Heavenly Fire Sutra. However, the power of the sun is quite domineering. Over time, fire poison will inevitably enter the body, making the temperament irritable and unstable. This is a problem that many monks who practice fire-based exercises find difficult to solve. Now Zhang Lin can introduce the moonlight into his body, and with the help of the power of the 12th yin, he can temper his body and neutralize the violent pure yang fire poison in his body. Not only can Zhang Lin's cultivation be further improved, it can also eliminate the shortcomings of fire-based exercises. Let Zhang Lin's foundation be more solid. Suddenly, he seemed to feel something in his heart. I glimpsed deep in the moon, and there was a burly man, holding an axe high, struggling to cut down the laurel tree. Every move of that strong man's axe seemed to shake the entire bright moon. The system sound resounded at this moment. Ding! Watch the Taiyan star, catch a glimpse of Wu Gang cutting trees, and understand the Taiyan body tempering technique. The moment the sound fell, thousands of true meanings of the techniques came to Zhang Lin's mind. The true meaning of the cold Taiyan emerged all over his body, tempering his flesh and blood body. The Zuri Tianguo Sutra is a method of practicing qi. The Taiyan body tempering technique is a method of body refining. It uses moonlight to temper the physical body and gain great physical strength. One qi training and one physical training, they complement each other. Watching Zhang Lin's changes with interest, she could feel that Zhang Lin had become stronger again. In just one day, she was a little surprised by the speed of improvement from physical training to orifice opening. Suddenly, the jade pendant around her waist suddenly lit up. She stretched out her white and delicate jade hands and gently held the jade pendant, her eyes shining with strange light. Come back quickly, there's something important. An old voice came into his mind. Immediately, a wave of ripples spread out, and Xie Qingyao disappeared out of thin air. Qingyan Peak. Inside the palace, several figures with auras as deep as the sea stood among them. These were the elders of Qingyan Holy Land, the mainstay of the Holy Land. No matter which one starts in the Holy Realm, the reason why they gathered this time was for Xie Qingyao, the saint of their Holy Land. No one could have imagined that the proud son of heaven and the saintly girl respected by thousands of people in Qingyan Holy Land would actually have a marriage contract. Let someone cancel this engagement and give them some compensation. An elder thought for a moment and said. However, this engagement was made by the older generation. If they cancel the engagement, I'm afraid. An elder next to him said hesitantly. Snort. I have also heard about Zhou Tian. He is a complete loser. In the past 3 years, his cultivation has dropped from the Earth Profound Realm to the first level of the Aperture Realm. I even heard that he is still retreating. I am afraid that he will fall to the forging level soon. Physical state. Can you let a saint marry such a person? Several elders fell silent immediately, obviously very opposed to this marriage. They also knew about the saint's incident on Zhou Tian. If you don't advance in cultivation, you will retreat. To them, it is like a joke. Okay, let's discuss this matter after Qingyao comes back. The Holy Lord of Qingyan Holy Land at the top, Xie Qingyao's master, spoke at this time. Master, my disciple will break off the engagement in a while. Suddenly, Xie Qingyao's voice came from outside. Everyone looked outside and found that Xie Qingyao was already standing outside the door. Her pretty face had a hint of determination, her beautiful eyes stared at the Holy Lord, and she nodded slightly to express her determination. Zhou Tian, her childhood fiancé. Xie Qingyao was born in a small border town. Her family had been friends with the Zhou family for generations before Xie Qingyao was born. Her grandfather made an agreement with the old man of the Zhou family, which was a bit like a fingertip wedding. Their grandson or granddaughter would become husband and wife. Later, when Xie Qingyao was born, Zhou Tian, the eldest grandson of the Zhou family, made a marriage contract and agreed to get married when he turned 18. It's just that the Xie family and the Zhou family are far apart. Xie Qingyao and her so-called fiancé Zhou Tian have never met each other since they were young. Let alone any feelings. Maybe to Xie Qingyao, Zhou Tian is just a stranger. Or rather a passerby. If there really is a relationship, it's just that the elders made the marriage contract more than 10 years ago. Then when Xie Qingyao was 10 years old, he was spotted by Qinglu, the Holy Lord of Qingyan Holy Land who was traveling, and was brought back to Qingyan Holy Land to practice. And just some time ago, Xie Qingyao also received news from the family. The content was nothing more than that Zhou Tian of the Zhou family had regressed in cultivation. There is basically no hope of becoming a strong person. In the past, Zhou Tian had already shown excellent talent, and successfully broke through to the Earth mysterious realm when he was 15 years old. Being able to have such a talent is indeed worthy of Zhou Tian's pride. You must know that in Qingyan Holy Land, one of the 5 holy places, there are very few geniuses who reach the realm of the earthly mystery before the age of 15. However, the age of 15 was also a turning point in his life. In the next 3 years, Zhou Tian's cultivation level declined instead of advancing. In 3 years, he fell from the earth profound realm to the current first level of Tongqiao. She was already quite critical of the engagement, but after receiving the news, she became even more disgusted with it. It's long past time to break off the engagement. If that's the case, my master will go back with you in a few days to break off the engagement. Holy Master Qinglu said with a smile. Not bad. Now, since Xie Qingyao has the idea of breaking off the engagement, these elders in the Holy Land must be 100% supportive, and they all said with a smile. I heard that Zhou Tian's cultivation talent seemed quite good when he was a child, but now, his cultivation is declining. I guess he will never be able to become a monk in the Tianxuan realm in this life, so how can he reach the top with you, Qingyao? I'm sorry, are you breaking off the engagement? A good-for-nothing fiancé who has regressed in cultivation. I'm sorry, are you breaking off the engagement? A good-for-nothing fiancé who has regressed in cultivation. After roughly understanding this matter, Zhong Lin's mood was a little complicated. He always felt that his mistress might have adopted a villain template. On the day of breaking off the engagement, will her fiancé still have to shout a few times and make a 3-year agreement with Xie Qingyao, and then say 30 years to the east of the river, 30 years to the west of the river, don't bully the young man into poverty. Then the 3-year period has come, and the fiancé Zhou Tian rises to power, and then takes the mysterious old man to the Qingyan Holy Land, and then in revenge for the shame of breaking off the engagement, he madly slaps Xie Qingyao in the face. This kind of plot direction. Thinking of this, Zhong Lin felt helpless. He would never have thought that Xie Qingyao's script was for a villain. The saintess of the Holy Land, with her extraordinary talents and powerful strength, etc. combined, shouldn't she be the protagonist of the script of Destiny Child? The engagement was annulled and his cultivation has regressed. This Zhou Tian is a good loser and the protagonist of the annulment trend. He may even have a ring. The extremely familiar routines and templates made Zhong Lin secretly think in his heart. However, since Xie Qingyao plans to break off the engagement, then just break off the engagement. Even if Zhou Tian has some kind of ring, old man, or the remnant soul of a strong man, so what? He has a systematic existence, and he is much stronger than Zhou Tian. Is Grandpa Ring any better than the system? Master, my disciple plans to return to his family to break off the engagement in 3 days. In order to break off the engagement faster and cut off this bond, Xie Qingyao directly suggested. After breaking off the engagement, she was able to truly devote herself to the Tao, focus on cultivation, and climb the legendary road to the great emperor. Yes, you go back and prepare. Seeing his disciple say this, Holy Master Qinglu nodded and agreed. This incident finally came to an end with Xie Qingyao withdrawing from the marriage in 3 days. However, after the incident was over, Qinglu left Xie Qingyao alone. The elders left, and there were only 2 of them and 1 snake left in the huge hall. Xie Qingyao looked at Master Qinglu with doubtful eyes, wondering why Master left her alone. Is it still because of that Zhou Tian incident? Qinglu, the Holy Lord of Qingyan Holy Land, looked at Xie Qingyao with a dull look. No, it should be the red bracelet on her wrist. In his memory, Qingyao had never had this thing on his wrist. And he could clearly sense that it was no ordinary bracelet, but a real monster. A monster in the Tongqiao realm. He had noticed it as early as when he was in the main hall. Master, I wonder what your instructions are for keeping your disciple here. After a long time, Xie Qingyao was the first to ask. He looked at Master Qinglu in confusion, wondering why he would suddenly leave him behind. Where did that thing on your wrist come from? After pondering for a moment, Qinglu asked. Listening to Master Qinglu's words, Xie Qingyao was startled, but then recovered quickly. Master, this is Zhang Lin. He awakened his bloodline yesterday, so his appearance changed drastically. That's why Master didn't recognize him. Xie Qingyao raised her hand and touched Zhang Lin's blood-red body at the wrist and said. Zhang Lin, that little green snake of yours. Looking at Xie Qingyao, Qinglu raised his eyebrows and said in surprise. He stretched out his hand and just grabbed it in the void. A huge and unstoppable suction force came, pulling Zhang Lin away from Xie Qingyao's wrist and flying into the center of Qinglu's palm. Old man, what are you doing? Zhang Lin, who had been silent and reducing his sense of presence, felt only a strong attack. When he opened his eyes, he saw an old face with white hair placed in his pupils. Suddenly the whole snake's hair exploded, and it said one sentence towards Qinglu. Can you still speak human words? That's amazing. Looking at Zhang Lin in his hands, especially after hearing him speak human words, a pair of cloudy eyes flashed with sparkle. Qinglu softly admired. I didn't expect that you little snake is actually of the blood of the monster royal family. Qingyao, you are so lucky. It's just that this cultivation level is still too low, but I only woke up yesterday, which is understandable. I'm afraid there aren't many monsters with royal bloodline as spiritual pets in this generation. Qinglu's eyes kept wandering over Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao, and he felt more and more that his apprentice was really lucky. But Zhang Lin, can you tell me what bloodline you are from? Qinglu looked at Zhang Lin doubtfully. He was well informed and had seen countless king-level monsters, but he didn't find similar characteristics of monsters in Zhang Lin, which was a bit strange. Old man, can you please take your face away? Zhang Lin not only did not answer Qinglu's words, but said in disgust. Of course, Zhang Lin also knew that Qinglu had a good temper in private, otherwise he wouldn't treat him like this. Haha, okay, I'll take it away right now. Hearing Zhang Lin's words, Qinglu smiled coquettishly. Little thing, if you don't want to say it, don't say it. You still have such a hot temper. I don't know who you learned it from. Seeing that Zhang Lin was unwilling to pay attention to him, Qinglu just shook his head and muttered, then let go of his hand and let Zhang Lin return to Xie Qingyao's body. Old guy. After Zhang Lin felt the restraint disappear, he glared at Qinglu and snorted disdainfully. Take good care of Zhang Lin, I can feel that he is extraordinary, but... Qinglu patted his apprentice on the shoulder and said. It's just that he is a little worried after all. After all, monsters are monsters after all, so he is afraid. But obviously, Qinglu's worries are unnecessary. Although Zhang Lin is a monster, he still belongs to the human race in his heart, and he cannot do such a thing as murdering Xie Qingyao. Who would hurt a girl with abundant resources and beautiful appearance? What's more, he is still his little master, how could Zhang Lin do it? Old man, you said this in front of me, do you think I don't understand what you mean? Zhang Lin, who was wrapped around Xie Qingyao's wrist, suddenly stuck out his head, rolled his eyes at Qinglu, and said slightly speechless. Of course, Zhang Lin also knew that Qinglu also told him this. If he doesn't hear this anymore, I'm afraid he will be regarded as a fool. Haha, that's what I said. After scratching his hair, Qinglu laughed. I understand, master. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. The intelligent Xie Qingyao naturally knew what the master meant, so she just smiled slightly to express her understanding. White fingers were placed on Zhang Lin's head and stroked gently, comforting Zhang Lin. Let's go, let's practice quickly and become a king as soon as possible. The king of breakthrough. Master, you said it is simple, but does this mean that a breakthrough is a breakthrough? Xie Qingyao was about to turn around when she heard her master's words and couldn't help but roll her eyes. She has just broken through to the 8th level of Tianxuan. Even if she has a special physique like Taiching glazed body, how can she say that she can break through to the king's realm? The 18-year-old Tianxuan 8th level is already quite dazzling among his generation. Thinking about the Saint Yu Xin of Yaoqi, the Saint Sun Kuang Tianeng of Tianshu, Zhang Ku of the aristocratic Zhang family, etc., who can compare with her? He. Hearing Xie Qingyao's complaint, Qinglu coughed twice and said, I used it when I was a teacher. Back then, Master, you were almost 50 years old when you broke through to become a king. You were still back then. She knew very well what happened to Master back then. When she saw him mentioning those years, Xie Qingyao didn't shy away and directly shouted back. Hey, you stinky girl, how dare you ridicule my teacher? Believe it or not, my teacher will educate you now. Upon hearing Xie Qingyao's words, Qinglu was instantly furious. He rolled up his sleeves and pretended to teach Xie Qingyao a lesson. When Xie Qingyao saw this, he ran away. He turned into a divine rainbow and left the hall, leaving only an angry Qinglu jumping around in place. Stinky girl, your wings have become stiff, and you don't even care about me anymore. Looking at Xie Qingyao's retreating back, Qinglu couldn't help stamping his feet and cursing. Degree times. But the curvature of the corners of his mouth could not be concealed no matter how hard he tried. He has had 4 direct disciples in his life, and each one of them is a person with amazing talents, but the one he is most proud of is Xie Qingyao, who has achieved such an achievement at such a young age. I hope this little guy doesn't live up to my expectations. After muttering, Qinglu turned around and walked towards the other side. Ding. You watched Xie Qingyao perform the 9 steps of Qingyan, were touched, and successfully understood the 9 steps of Qingyan. Huge insights flooded into his mind, and Zhonglin's mouth couldn't help but grow bigger. Qingyan Jubu. He knows the 9 steps of Qingyan. The secrets of Qingyan Holy Land can only be learned by every Holy Land Holy Master, Holy Lady and Holy Son. Moreover, this requires extremely high talent in order to be able to understand its profound meaning. But what about now? As a result, I directly understood the 9 steps of Qingyan. But even if he learned the Qingyan 9 steps, he had no intention of using them. Since then, I have been following Xie Qingyao. Following her is faster than running with him. He only knows the aperture realm, and his full strength is not even 1/10 as good as hers. Secondly, it smells so good next to Xie Qingyao, with her white and tender skin dangling before your eyes. How can you resist the temptation? You won't hurt me, right? Xie Qingyao looked at Zhonglin on her wrist with her smart eyes and asked softly. Hearing Xie Qingyao's words, Zhonglin stuck his head out and looked at Xie Qingyao for a moment with his snake eyes. Looking at Xie Qingyao's pure eyes and beautiful face, Zhonglin nodded. Don't worry, I won't harm you. Xie Qingyao smiled with satisfaction, stretched out her palm and touched Zhonglin's head. I believe you. The smile was sweet, like a blooming lotus, and Zhonglin was almost intoxicated by it. On the Virgin Peak, Holy Girl, the Holy Sun came just now. When he saw that the Holy Girl was not there, he left. He just asked the slave to tell the Holy Girl to go to the Holy Child Peak when you come back. As soon as Xie Qingyao and Zhonglin returned to Saintis Peak, a slave from Saintis Peak came up to them and respectfully reported to Xie Qingyao. Oh, got it. Xie Qingyao responded lightly and walked straight to his dormitory. Qingyan Holy Sun, Chen Xuan. Tianshuan's 6th level. She also knows that he likes her and wants her to become his Taoist companion, and the entire Qingyan Holy Land knows it. However, Xie Qingyao had no thoughts about Chen Xuan and only regarded him as her brother. When she first became a teacher as a child, Chen Xuan had always been taking care of her and helping her. But now, he wants her to be his Taoist companion, so I'm sorry, I just treat you as my brother, nothing more. Every time he came to Xie Qingyao's palace, Zhonglin felt like it was a different experience. The faint fragrance floated between the nostrils, making Zhonglin feel relaxed and happy. Even the mind calmed down. Xie Qingyao's bedroom is very simple, and the decoration is also very simple, but this simplicity actually brings out her elegance and refinement. Zhang Lin also has his own place in Xie Qingyao's palace. Perched on a small branch, he was breathing in the spiritual energy around him, while his eyes were staring at the sun through the outside. This small tree is not extraordinary, but a spiritual tree that Xie Qingyao moved here for Zhang Lin. Xie Qingyao was sitting aside at this time, looking at Zhang Lin with soft eyes, her lotus-like arms supporting her delicate chin, and a faint smile on her lips. At this time, a man's voice came from outside the hall. "Junior sister, senior brother just learned that you were back, so he came over." "Hey." Hearing the male voice outside the door, Xie Qingyao sighed, stood up, and walked towards the main hall. When Zhang Lin saw this, he followed her towards the main hall. He had met Chen Xuan a few times, but not much. He only remembered that he was a gentle and handsome young man. The impression was not bad. It would have been even better if he had not pursued Xie Qingyao. In the main hall, there was indeed a young man dressed in white sitting upright, with handsome features, red lips and white teeth, giving him a warm aura. But there was a bit of fierceness in those deep black eyes, showing the resoluteness of his character. "Senior brother." Xie Qingyao walked into the hall and saluted Chen Xuan. Seeing Xie Qingyao approaching, Chen Xuan stood up from his seat with a slight smile on his face. "Junior sister, senior brother heard that you returned from practice yesterday, are you safe?" Chen Xuan looked at Xie Qingyao with a smile and asked with concern. Xie Qingyao raised her head and glanced at Chen Xuan, shook her head with a chuckle and said, "It's okay." Suddenly, after Zhang Lin entered the hall, the aura of the demon clan was so obvious that Chen Xuan frowned and cast his eyes on Zhang Lin. Apparently he didn't recognize Zhang Lin. That's right, the change was so big that even Xie Qingyao almost didn't recognize it at the time. "Senior brother, this is Zhang Lin, but his bloodline has awakened and his appearance has changed." Sensing the strangeness of his senior brother, Xie Qingyao quickly explained. When Chen Xuan heard this, he nodded in realization and didn't care. He also knew about the little green snake next to his junior sister. Moreover, the awakening of the bloodline is something that can only happen by chance, and it is also his destiny. "I see. By the way, junior sister, senior brother got a blood nightshade here, specially brought to you." Blood nightshade. Both Xie Qingyao and Zhang Lin looked surprised when they heard Chen Xuan's words. "Yes, it's the blood nightshade." With that said, Chen Xuan waved his hand. An inexplicable fragrance suddenly appeared in the hall, and then a blood-red sunflower appeared out of thin air in front of Xie Qingyao, suspended in midair, emitting a trace of blood-red light, looking really weird. The blood nightshade is about half a foot tall, and its whole body is blood-red. The stems and leaves grow at the ends of the leaves, like tiny dragon scales, glowing with a cold light. Blood nightshade. As soon as the blood nightshade appeared, Zhang Lin took a deep breath. Blood nightshade, an extremely rare exotic spiritual plant. Rumor has it that blood nightshade is watered by dragon blood and produced in a special way. It contains dragon blood. Taking it can help practitioners improve their cultivation and increase their physical strength. Of course, those who are most interested in blood nightshade are those monsters who want to use the dragon blood to temper their blood and obtain the dragon blood. Therefore, this blood nightshade is absolutely attractive to monsters like Zhang Lin. As soon as the blood nightshade appeared, Zhang Lin's eyes were attracted to it. He felt the excitement in his blood and wanted to pounce on it and eat the blood nightshade. However, although he coveted the blood nightshade, he was still controlled by Zhang Lin. "Senior brother, this blood nightshade is too valuable. Junior sister is too embarrassed to accept it." Xie Qingyao looked at the blood nightshade hovering in midair and declined slowly. Needless to say, the value of this blood nightshade, but it was absolutely impossible for her to accept the blood nightshade. When Chen Xuan heard Xie Qingyao's words, the tenderness flowing between his eyebrows gradually disappeared, replaced by a touch of sadness. Suddenly, he glanced at Zhang Lin and spoke immediately. "Junior sister, this blood nightshade is actually given to Zhang Lin by senior brother. After all, you don't know what effect this blood nightshade has on Zhang Lin. You don't want Zhang Lin to be like this." After Chen Xuan finished speaking, he stared deeply at Xie Qingyao. Xie Qingyao lowered her head in silence, not knowing what to do. She naturally knows the role of blood nightshade on Zhang Lin. But, Silently looking at Zhang Lin and then at Chen Xuan, Xie Qingyao had a look of hesitation on his face. In that case, then junior sister will accept it for Zhang Lin, as junior sister owes senior brother a favor. Xie Qingyao finally agreed. She was willing for Zhang Lin. When Chen Xuan heard Xie Qingyao's words, he smiled and nodded. In this case, that senior brother will leave first. Seeing that his goal was achieved, Chen Xuan handed over and left. After Chen Xuan walked away, Zhang Lin finally said, "Is it worth it?" "Actually, I don't want it either." Using one of her favors in exchange for a blood nightshade, still for him, Zhang Lin felt faintly touched in his heart. "It's worth it. This blood nightshade is enough for you to break through to the earth mysterious realm." Looking at Zhang Lin, Xie Qingyao flicked Zhang Lin's forehead with her fingers and said with a smile. Looking at the blood nightshade, Zhang Lin slowly stepped forward. "Ding, if you watch Blood Nightshade and gain some insights, your comprehension progress will be plus 1%. Zhang Lin's eyes flashed, and he thought that the Blood Nightshade was indeed of great use to him. Move the Blood Nightshade to Xie Qingyao's palace. This Blood Nightshade replaced the small spiritual tree that was previously occupied by Zhang Lin. Zhang Lin was entrenched on the Blood Nightshade, breathing in the blood energy emitted by the Blood Nightshade from time to time. Blood-red mist lingered around Zhang Lin, and as Zhang Lin breathed, it entered Zhang Lin's body one by one. The bloodline was slowly changing, and Zhang Lin's whole temperament was also gradually changing. Zhang Lin lay quietly on the blood nightshade, his whole body covered with a faint layer of blood mist, and a vague aura spread out from his body. Xie Qingyao stood aside and looked at Zhang Lin, his eyes full of memories. 2 days later. Ding, if you watch Blood Nightshade and gain some insights, your enlightenment progress will be plus 1%. No wonder people say that this Blood Nightshade has an extraordinary effect on monsters. With this kind of fortune, God will not deceive me. Feeling the countless thoughts about Blood Nightshade in his mind, as well as the subtle changes in his own blood, Zhang Lin raised a smile on his lips and murmured to himself. Ding, watch the Blood Nightshade and understand the blood pupil technique. Blood pupil technique, the art of confusion. Practicing blood pupil can make people lose their minds, fall into illusions, and be slaughtered by others. Looking at the system's prompt tone, Zhang Lin was stunned for a moment and then became ecstatic. Not bad. Looking at this blood nightshade, Zhang Lin liked it more and more, and his feelings were still increasing. Vaguely, Zhang Lin seemed to see a blood dragon in the blood nightshade, roaring up to the sky, roaring again and again. Resentment, killing, bloodthirsty and other negative emotions all gathered in the blood of the blood dragon, and endless dragon blood was shed. Ding, you understand the blood nightshade, glimpse the shadow of the blood dragon, and understand the magical power, 9 transformations of the blood dragon. 9 transformations of the blood dragon. The bloodline transforms, transforming the sky and the earth, transforming into a dragon for the 9th time, staining the sky with blood. Hearing this system prompt, Zhang Lin's eyes flashed and he suddenly opened his eyes. In his eyes, there was a faint blood-red luster. 9 transformations of the blood dragon, 9 transformations into a dragon. This technique is an absolute dragon transformation technique. Moreover, it is the dragon transformation technique of the dragon clan. This is simply outrageous. Zhang Lin was already shocked beyond measure. You must know that the dragon clan can be said to be a legendary existence in this world. The so-called dragons in the current practice world are just some of the dragon clan blood in the body, not the real dragon clan. Or, some earth dragons, and some strange beasts born with dragon blood. And now, the 9 transformations of blood dragon, the real dragon transformation technique, was placed in front of him. He couldn't even imagine what kind of sensation it would cause in this world if the dragon transformation technique was spread. You know, the dragon transformation technique has earth-shattering power even for the weakest dragons. Now that I have obtained the dragon transformation technique, this blood nightshade is of little use. But the traces of dragon blood inside still have some final value. Zhang Lin looked at the blood nightshade, then looked around, and found that Xie Qingyao had left at some point. He was the only one left in the huge palace. Opening his mouth wide, Zhang Lin swallowed the blood nightshade into his belly. In an instant, the power of the majestic blood nightshade surged down his throat and throughout his body. Especially the traces of dragon blood contained in the blood nightshade were even more violent, raging in Zhong Lin's body. If they were in the ordinary aperture realm, just a drop of dragon's blood would be able to burst them alive. Zhong Lin used the Candle Sun Heavenly Fire Sutra, the Taiyan body tempering technique, and the newly obtained Blood Dragon 9 transformations to quickly refine the efficacy of the blood nightshade, while frantically absorbing the dragon's blood in the blood nightshade. Bloody scales covered Zhong Lin's skin, and the smell of blood filled the air. The blood-colored mist outside enveloped Zhong Lin's body and turned into a giant egg, wrapping Zhong Lin in it. The blood nightshade is indeed a great blessing for him. There are rumors among the people that snakes grow into pythons, pythons grow into anacondas, anacondas grow into dragons, and dragons grow into dragons. Moreover, the snakes all have part of the dragon bloodline in their bodies. Now they have obtained the blood nightshade, which is the bloodline of the royal family. This time, it will definitely make him reborn again. In the palace, since discovering that Zhong Lin turned into an egg, Xie Qingyao called his master Qing Lu over. Qing Lu looked at the giant egg that Zhong Lin had transformed into, stroked his few beards, nodded in admiration. Well, it is indeed a chance. I am afraid that after Zhong Lin breaks out of the egg, he will reach the level of Earth's On realm. It takes 3 or 4 days to break through from the body-forging realm to the earthly profound realm. It's really scary. After listening to Qing Lu's words, Xie Qingyao smiled bitterly and shook her head. Indeed, but with the bloodline awakening, gold yuan fruit, and blood nightshade all coming together, it would be difficult not to break through. Qing Lu also agreed with his disciple's words. The stronger this kid is, the more help you can get. That's a good thing. As night falls, the stars flow. Zhong Lin still showed no signs of waking up, but around the giant egg, the rich blood evil aura became stronger and stronger. And along with this rich blood evil aura, a strong sense of ferocity and cruelty permeated the air, which was terrifying. In Zhong Lin's body, the blood evil energy continued to condense, forming a ferocious illusory dragon shadow that wandered within his body. This dragon shadow is the blood dragon transformed by the blood evil energy. The evil spirit of blood not only filled the giant egg and the surroundings of the palace, but even covered the entire Saintis Peak. The disciples who were originally patrolling outside the mountain peak had a look of horror on their faces after noticing this aura, and they all gave way. There are a total of 108 peaks in Qingyan Holy Land, all of which were alarmed by Zhong Lin's blood evil aura. What a powerful evil spirit! On Qingyan Peak, Holy Lord Qinglu also noticed this strong evil aura. His face suddenly changed, and he looked towards Saintis Peak, with a trace of solemnity between his brows. Holy Lord, this. An elder stood next to Qing Lu, looking at Qing Lu and wondering, who is it? He actually has such overwhelming evil energy. Is there an evil cultivator hiding in Saintis Peak? An elder speculated. No, it's Qingyao's spiritual pet, Zhong Lin. Qing Lu shook his head and said slowly. Hearing this name, all the elders around had a strange look on their faces. Zhong Lin and the others knew about it, but it would be a bit ridiculous if you said that he was responsible for such a big commotion. Blood Nightshade is still the best Blood Nightshade. But this movement is too big. Old man Qinglu waved his sleeves, and the evil aura in the air suddenly dissipated. I'll go take a look first. As soon as he finished speaking, Qinglu fluttered and rushed towards the Saintis Peak. The other elders followed closely behind him and flew towards the Saintis Peak. Saint, Xie Qingyao, Holy Son, Chen Xuan, Holy Lord, Qinglu. There are also all the elders gathered together. Everyone looked solemnly at the suppressed bloody energy in Saintis Peak. Especially Xie Qingyao's face was full of worry. Master, this. Xie Qingyao looked at Master Qinglu, his face full of hesitation. How can the refining blood nightshade have such a strong evil aura, and... No need to worry. Qinglu gently patted the back of Xie Qingyao's hand. Zhong Lin is fine, this blood nightshade is not an ordinary blood nightshade, but the best blood nightshade. Sure enough, just as Qinglu finished speaking, all the blood evil energy on the Saintis Peak surged crazily, converging towards the peak, the palace, and the giant egg transformed by Zhong Lin. In the blink of an eye, the blood evil spirit disappeared completely. Buzz. At the same time, a bloody vortex suddenly rose above the palace. In this bloody vortex, there seemed to be a dragon roar, and there was a vague dragon-shaped shadow hovering in it. A crack suddenly appeared on the surface of the giant egg in the palace, as if something was trying to get out. It's over. Suddenly, roar. A sound like a dragon's roar suddenly exploded. The giant egg burst completely, and under the shocked eyes of everyone, a bloody python with a length of 100 meters appeared in everyone's sight. His blood-red eyes flashed with cold bloodlust, his huge body was covered with fine scales, and his whole body was filled with powerful power fluctuations. Especially on the ferocious snake's head, there are two protrusions, like horns. Hiss. After spitting out the vomit, the bloody python raised its head and let out bursts of harsh neighing sounds. This is it, the bloodline has mutated again. Everyone's pupils shrank, and the blood python in front of them was obviously different from Zhonglin's previous appearance. Especially the bulge on its forehead, it looks like something is gestating. Boom! Just when everyone was shocked by Zhonglin's mutation, the huge snake tail slapped the ground hard. Suddenly, dust flew up and the earth trembled. Zhonglin raised his head, staring at everyone with his blood-red eyes, and breathed out scarlet breath, carrying endless danger. Zhonglin. Xie Qingyao looked at the changed and ferocious Zhonglin. She did not feel fear in her eyes. Instead, she took a few steps forward and came to Zhonglin, stretching out her delicate hands to touch Zhonglin's body. Junior sister. Chen Xuan's face changed slightly when he saw this, and he wanted to quickly step forward to stop him. Ding! Refine the best blood nightshade, refine the meager blood dragon essence and blood, and evolve the bloodline, blood dragon python. Ding! Break through to the 3rd level of earth mystery and awaken your natal magical power, dragon evil. Dragon evil. Condensed with blood evil energy, it contains highly toxic substances that can corrode all things, and its power is astonishing. Ding! The host has broken through the earthly mysterious realm and awakened the magical power, transformation. The pupils filled with evil spirits gradually regained their clarity. Zhonglin looked at Xie Qingyao who was walking forward step by step. He also stepped forward and lowered his head slightly to touch Xie Qingyao's fingertips. Looking at Zhonglin, Xie Qingyao's lips curved into a gentle smile. Call. Seeing this scene, Qinglu, Chen Xuan and the elders also breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts, with happy smiles on their faces. Okay, let's all disperse. The blood evil spirit dissipated, and the saint's peak returned to its previous appearance. Qinglu waved his hand and said to everyone. After everyone heard this, they all excused themselves and left. He, Qingyao, and Zhonglin were the only ones left here. You kid, you're making quite a scene, Qinglu scolded, stroking his beard. Can you blame me? I didn't know there would be such a big fuss. Zhonglin turned into a bracelet again and was still clinging to Xie Qingyao. When he heard Qinglu's scolding, he immediately complained. As for why he didn't transform into a human being after being able to transform, isn't it because he can stay by Xie Qingyao's side? So white, so tender, so fragrant. Next day, Qinglu appeared on the Saint's Peak early. The palace that was destroyed by Zhonglin last night has been completely restored to its original appearance. Xie Qingyao was still joking with Zhonglin, and when she saw the master's arrival, she also stepped forward. Today is the day she goes to break off the engagement. Master. Xie Qingyao stepped forward and called out obediently. Qinglu responded, then glanced at Zhonglin, who rolled his eyes at him. He was silent for a moment and asked, how are the preparations? Ready. Xie Qingyao nodded. Qinglu nodded when he heard this, turned his eyes to Zhonglin, and said, when the time comes, please keep a low profile and don't come out to scare people. He really felt a headache for Zhonglin. I don't even know what it means to respect the elderly and love the young. Moreover, since his bloodline took another step forward yesterday, Zhonglin's appearance has become ferocious and terrifying. Appearing in a crowd will definitely cause commotion. Zhonglin curled his lips. Old man, am I this kind of person in your heart? I have no interest in doing anything like that unless they mess with me. As he spoke, Zhonglin leaned against Xie Qingyao, climbed onto her jade-like shoulders, and rested his head on her neck. Feeling the heat from Zhonglin, a faint blush appeared on Xie Qingyao's pretty face. Qinglu's face twitched when he saw this scene. He took a deep breath, glanced at Xie Qingyao next to him, and then said to Zhonglin, in the earth profound realm, you should be able to transform, right? Zhonglin, who has the blood of a royal family, logically can transform into a human form at the Earth Profound Realm. But why hasn't Zhong Lin turned into a human form even though he was in the earthly mysterious realm? No, I can't transform. Transformation. Stop making trouble. How can you have love with a beautiful woman in disguise? Although I can't change it. I can't change it into something tangible. I just play. Zhong Lin put his head directly on Xie Qingyao's neck and said lazily. Let's go. After hearing this, Qing Lu said no more, and did not doubt the authenticity of Zhong Lin's words. After all, there are so many wonders in the world, what if it really is like this? With a wave of his hand, the two of them disappeared. Qingyan Holy Land is located in the middle of Daozhou, and Xie Qingyao's family is at the junction of Daozhou and Dongzhou. The distance between the two places is quite long. Even if a Holy Land power like Qinglu is at full strength, it will take 2 days. Daozhou has a vast territory that is difficult for ordinary monks to cross, and the forces within it are complicated. The Xie family is also relatively famous in Guan Shaocheng over there. Of course, this is also because Xie Qingyao became famous after becoming a disciple of the Holy Master of Qingyan Holy Land and becoming the saint of Qingyan Holy Land. The strongest person in the family is only at the Earth Zon realm and is relatively ordinary. Master, do you think Zhong Lin has a chance to transform into a dragon? Xie Qingyao rubbed the 2 bumps on Zhong Lin's head and whispered. Transforming into a dragon is not that simple. It has taken tens of millions of years. When has a real dragon appeared? Qing Lu shook his head and sighed. Just like the true dragon great sage, he only has part of the dragon blood in his body, not a true dragon. Maybe there are real dragons in the legendary fairyland. Why? Taking out a spiritual fruit, Xie Qingyao fed it to Zhong Lin. Zhong Lin opened his mouth and swallowed. When you watch the sun star, your perception will be plus 1%. Ding, you looked at the sun star and caught a glimpse of the candle sun. Congratulations on realizing the magical power, the flame of the candle sun. There was a hint of shock in Zhong Lin's pupils when he looked at the sun star. It seemed as if there were sky flames rising from the sun star, illuminating the whole world. Moreover, the scorching flames made Zhong Lin's pupils sting. The flames of the candle sun, the fire of the candle dragon, burn everything and destroy everything. The flames of the candle sun. Zhong Lin's eyes lit up, and wisps of blazing golden light flashed in his pupils, like burning flames, causing the temperature around him to suddenly increase, even making people feel a little bit hot. The information about the candle sun flame also poured into his mind. Zhong Lin opened his eyes, and 2 golden flames danced in his eyes. Xie Qingyao felt keenly that the temperature of Zhong Lin's hand suddenly became much higher. She raised her head and looked at him in surprise. Fine. Zhong Lin blinked and suppressed the vision in his eyes. Boy Zhong, let's discuss something, okay. Suddenly, Qing Lu, who was standing in front of Qing Yao, spoke. He was also aware of the strangeness that Zhong Lin had just experienced. He could feel that Zhong Lin had become stronger again. He is really getting stronger all the time. This talent is truly terrifying. Zhong Lin frowned and looked at Qing Lu. He always felt that this old boy had bad intentions and it was definitely not a good thing. Don't want. Zhong Lin refused without even thinking about it. Just kidding, it would definitely not be a good thing to plan something with this old boy. Don't refuse in such a hurry. Just listen to what I have to say first. Outside the territory, there is a race called the Tianlong clan, which is also very powerful, and no dragon has appeared in their generation until now. What do you think? Do you want to give it a try? As long as you become a dragon son, there will be countless resources for you to practice. There is even a real dragon blood baptism. Your potential will be even more terrifying in the future. Qing Lu's face was full of temptation, constantly tempting Zhong Lin. I reject. Zhong Lin spoke quickly and rejected Qing Lu without hesitation. He didn't know what the situation of the Tianlong clan was, but he knew clearly that Qing Lu had beaten him to no avail. Forget it if you don't agree, Qing Lu snorted, not surprised that Zhong Lin rejected him. If Zhong Lin agreed so easily, he would be surprised. Qing Lu reached out and patted Zhong Lin on the back. Boy, don't blame me for not reminding you. This is a great blessing. I know. Zhong Lin curled his lips, looking impatient. Seeing this, Qing Lu didn't say anything more. He just took a deep look at Zhonglin and continued to lead the way to Xia's house. With Qinglu beside them, they were traveling extremely fast, traveling through the void. Shanshui Sect jurisdiction. Come on, run. They're almost catching up. A man anxiously urged the people around him. The man was about 20 years old. He was dressed in black and had a tired look on his face. It was obvious that he had experienced a lot during this time. Next to him, there was a woman, also dressed in black, with beautiful appearance, but her face was a little pale. The woman's body exuded a strong smell of medicine. It was obvious that she had been seriously injured and was now at the end of her strength. "Brother, where can we escape to?" the woman asked, a trace of despair flashing in her eyes. She never thought that she would end up in this situation. "I don't know either." The man gritted his teeth and said, "Sister, you go first, I will stop them. Take that thing and go to Shanshui Sect. With that thing, the Shanshui Sect will avenge our lives." In the man's hand, there was a token, and the token was engraved with the word, "Holy." After throwing the token to the girl, the man turned around and looked at the group of monks chasing them with firm eyes. He had long been prepared in his heart to die. "I just hope that the Shanshui Sect can protect his sister, otherwise, he will die in peace." "Brother." The woman's eyes were red. How could she be willing to let her brother stay alone to resist the enemy? "Let's go. Remember, no matter who you meet, don't expose the token, run away." The man shouted sharply, with murderous intent in his eyes, and rushed towards the group of monks. The woman Ji Yulu burst into tears. She clutched the token in her hand and ran away quickly towards the Shanshui Sect, praying in her heart, "Brother, you must survive." The two of them, brother and sister, were originally disciples of a small nearby family, but they went out to do a mission and unexpectedly got this token. The gears of fate seemed to be turning quietly at this moment. News of the token spread, and someone with evil intentions destroyed their family in an attempt to get the token. But it happened that the brother and sister happened to be outside the family, so they survived by luck. What happened next is what it looks like now. The brother and sister were hunted down to the sky and into the earth. It's a pity that they are just two warriors in the early stage of the Aperture Realm. Their strength is far inferior to that of the chasing people, and there is no way to get rid of them. The Shanshui Sect is now their only hope. The Shanshui Sect has an ancestor with the Tianshuan realm, so he will definitely be able to help them resolve the crisis. There were only 200 miles left to the Shanshui Sect. Thinking of this, Ji Yulu clenched his silver teeth, mobilized his spiritual power crazily, and ran towards the Shanshui Sect with all his strength. The speed became faster and faster, and in almost the blink of an eye, they had already crossed a distance of 30 or 40 miles, approaching the Shanshui Sect. But later, her brother, Ji Yudong, was severely injured by the group of monks because he wanted to protect her. His clothes were stained with blood and his breath was weak. Don't know where he fell. Especially after noticing that his brother had fallen to the ground, a flash of sadness flashed in Ji Yulu's eyes. But looking at the approaching Shanshui Sect, her expression became determined. She gritted her teeth and sped up, not daring to stop even a step along the way. But suddenly, a death-like coldness swept through her body, causing her to duck away instantly. Call! A figure descended from the sky and hovered in front of her. A cold sword tip pointed at her throat. Just a slight stroke was enough to kill her. "Hand over the holy order." The visitor spat out 5 words indifferently, with a solemn tone. Ji Yulu swallowed hard, a strong fear welling up in the depths of her eyes. The aura of the earthly profound realm filled the air, and she was so oppressed that she couldn't breathe. "I don't understand what you are talking about," Ji Yulu's trembling voice slowly sounded. The visitor's eyes glanced around her, and seeing that she was still stubborn, spiritual power surged in his hand, and a sharp sword light slashed down towards Ji Yulu. Whoosh! The sharp sword light cut through the air, making a harsh whistle. "No!" Ji Yulu screamed, her face pale. Just as the attack was about to fall on him, a strong wind suddenly passed by and shattered the sword light into pieces. "Who?" The visitor frowned, raised his head, and looked forward coldly. Looking around, he narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, "Get out!" At this time, the group of people who were chasing Ji Yudong and Ji Yulu were also chasing them here. More than a dozen people looked around, trying to find clues, but they found nothing. Since your excellency has taken action, why are you hiding your head and showing your tail? Please show up and see me. Zhangzhou growled with a sullen face. Ha! Accompanied by a joking laughter, a slightly mocking voice slowly resounded. It's so shameless for a group of people to bully a woman. The voice was full of playfulness, and it sounded like it was deliberately teasing Zhangzhou. Under everyone's gaze, a woman slowly appeared. On her shoulder, there is also a spiritual snake, swallowing the letter, looking quite ferocious and terrifying. The woman is tall and tall. Although she is not very old, she has a beautiful face. Even her clear and bright eyes are as dazzling as stars. But at this moment, these eyes were staring at Zhangzhou and others, as if with a hint of ridicule. Who are you? How dare you meddle in other people's business? I tell you, you'd better be sensible today and don't get angry, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Zhangzhou said coldly. He could feel that this woman was very strong and might have the potential to fight with him, force. But thinking that there were so many of them, and there were experts at the peak of Earth Zon, he suddenly felt confident. You're welcome. Xie Qingyao shook her head, chuckled, and said sarcastically, you alone are not qualified to be rude to me. The visitors are none other than Xie Qingyao and Zhang Lin. However, Holy Lord Qinglu, who had been following them, did not show up, but was observing in secret. Superior. Zhangzhou snorted coldly, waved his hand, and more than 10 warriors all shot out and rushed towards Xie Qingyao. All kinds of offensive attacks enveloped Xie Qingyao, airtight, completely blocking all her escape routes. Faced with so many attacks, Xie Qingyao showed no fear, with a sneer on her lips and a slight turn of her slender hands. Buzz! A green long sword appeared out of thin air. Xie Qingyao held a long sword in his hand. His whole body was like electricity, and he shot towards the crowd. He waved the green long sword, and a rain of swords poured down. Every drop of sword light carried terrifying sword energy and was astonishingly powerful. A group of practitioners in the earthly profound realm and Tongqiao realm dared to take action against her. They were simply overestimating their own capabilities. Tisk, tisk, tisk. The rain of green swords cut through the void, causing a series of harsh sounds, drowning everyone in it. Screams sounded one after another, and blood splashed out. With just one sword strike, Xie Qingyao took away several lives, which was frightening. However, in just one move, none of the dozen practitioners who surrounded Xie Qingyao survived. Hiss. Seeing this, Ji Yulu, who was behind him, couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, and there was a huge wave in his heart. Terrible. She originally wanted to persuade this woman to leave quickly, but she never thought that with just one move, this woman would kill more than a dozen powerful Earth Profound Realm masters with her sword. Who are you? Looking at this scene, Zhangzhou was so frightened that he couldn't help but step back, and asked with panic in his voice. Hearing this, Xie Qingyao sneered and said, kill your people. Chapter 11. As she spoke, she stepped out again, her sword turning into a radiance that filled the sky and shrouded Zhangzhou. What should I do? Do I really want to die here? Feeling the terrifying power of the long sword, the hair on Zhangzhou's body suddenly stood up and his pupils shrank sharply. Xie Qingyao, who was in the Sky Profound Realm, wanted to kill Zhangzhou, who was at the peak of the Earth Profound Realm, with ease. He didn't even have a chance to escape. Zhangzhou's forehead was covered with pea-like cold sweat, and his body was trembling slightly. PFF'd. The next moment, the long sword pierced Zhangzhou's chest, scarlet blood sprayed out, and Zhangzhou's body also fell heavily to the ground. Looking at the corpse in front of her, Xie Qingyao no longer hesitated and turned her head towards Ji Yulu. Thank you for saving my life, girl. Ji Yulu quickly bowed and said respectfully. Looking at the girl in front of him, there was a hint of fear in her eyes. It's just a little effort. Xie Qingyao waved her hand casually and said, but why are they chasing you? Even Zhang Lin, who was on Xie Qingyao's shoulder, looked at Ji Yulu curiously. It is really strange that a group of people from the Aperture Realm and the Earth Zon Realm are chasing and killing a little girl who is in the early stage of Aperture Ability Realm. Ji Yulu lowered his head, with a trace of hesitation flashing in his eyes, but finally decided to tell the truth. Some time ago, my brother and I got a holy order by chance, but the news of the holy order was exposed, and they were destroyed. He killed our family and has been hunting us down till now. Holy order. What is the Holy Order? Zhong Lin was a little unclear and asked Xie Qingyao. So that's it, they turned out to be for the Holy Order. The Holy Order, there is a secret realm called the Tianyan Secret Realm. The Holy Order is the key to unlocking the treasures deep in the secret realm. It is rumored that there is an inheritance of the Emperor realm in it, but you need to have the Holy Order to be eligible to snatch it. Xie Qingyao explained. Tianyan Secret Realm, Emperor realm inheritance, such a treasure is indeed worth the risk for them. Zhong Lin nodded slightly. In that case, this Holy Order should be in your hands. Xie Qingyao said. Yes, Ji Yulu nodded, looked at Xie Qingyao with a complicated expression, and then took out a token from the space ring, which was the Holy Order. Thank you, Senior, for your life-saving grace. This is the Holy Order. Please accept it, Senior. Ji Yulu handed the Holy Order to Xie Qingyao and said. She had witnessed Xie Qingyao's strength with her own eyes. She could feel that this woman was no ordinary person. Therefore, she planned to hand over the Holy Order. After all, it is too dangerous for her to have the Holy Order in her possession. With her strength in the Aperture Realm, she couldn't protect the Holy Order at all. They may even be hunted down all the time, and there will never be peace. However, Xie Qingyao glanced at the Holy Order, but did not reach out to take it away. She frowned slightly and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will kill people and steal goods after taking the Holy Order?" Ji Yulu shook his head and said, "With the strength of the Senior, it would be easy to kill me. Besides, I believe that the character of the Senior would not bother to do such a thing." Yi Yan. Haha. Xie Qingyao smiled lightly, and then said, "In this case, I will accept this Holy Order. I hope we can meet again if we are destined. You gave me the Holy Order, then I will also give you a way to survive. You can take my token and go to Qingyan Holy Land." With that said, Xie Qingyao threw another token to Ji Yulu. Ji Yulu was stunned for a moment, then took the token. His expression became extremely excited, and he quickly bowed and said, "Thank you, Senior." At the same time, she was shocked in her heart. Qingyan Holy Land is the top holy land in Daozhou. The person who never thought of saving her would actually be a disciple of Qingyan Holy Land. Let's go. Xie Qingyao glanced at her and said, "Remember, my name is Xie Qingyao. If you encounter danger in the future, you can tell me my name." After saying that, without waiting for Ji Yulu's reply, she rose into the air and left straight away. Xie Qingyao. Ji Yulu looked at Xie Qingyao's back and murmured Xie Qingyao's name, feeling more and more familiar. Not long after, a light flashed in her mind, and she suddenly thought of something. Xie Qingyao. Xie Qingyao, the saint of Qingyan Holy Land. At this moment, Ji Yulu was completely stunned. Xie Qingyao is the saint of Qingyan Holy Land. The person who rescued her was actually the saint of Qingyan Holy Land. Looking at the token in her hand, her face showed a look of joy. If it was really her, then she and her brother would be saved. That's right, brother. Ji Yulu quickly turned back and looked in the previous direction. She prayed in her heart that her brother would wait for her. Holy Order. Counting the time, the Tianyan Secret Realm is about to open. He didn't know where he got the wine flask from. Qinglu drank the wine, smacking his lips, savoring the lingering fragrance in his mouth, and a gleam of light flowed from his eyes. After listening to Qingyao's words, Qinglu also understood. He also knew about the Holy Order and the Tianyan Secret Realm. After calculating the time, it seems that in half a month, the Secret Realm of Tianyan will be opened. The Secret Realm of Tianyan is opened. When the time comes, you and Mr. Zhang should go too. Anyway, nothing will happen after we break off the engagement. With the Holy Order here, if we find the inheritance of the Emperor Realm, it will skyrocket. Qinglu chuckled and said, "The inheritance of the Emperor Realm, if there is another Emperor weapon in it, it will make a lot of money. You must know that their Qingyan Holy Land only has one imperial weapon in the entire Holy Land, which is where the Holy Land's confidence lies." He had never heard of any force having two imperial weapons. Tianyan Secret Realm. It's okay. Xie Qingyao heard the master's words, nodded slightly, and after thinking for a moment, said, "We can go to Xia's house tomorrow. Are you happy? Let's go home. With the Holy Land of Qinglu here, it's very fast to get on the road." Far away in the void, the destructive fluctuations continued to spread, forming terrifying ripples. Within the cracks in the broken space, black thunder flashed, containing strong destructive power, as if it was going to destroy everything. The fluctuation also spread to Qinglu and Xie Qingyao. Feeling the terrifying aura, Xie Qingyao and Zhonglin couldn't help but shudder and swallowed. That is how the matter. Xie Qingyao looked at the void in the distance with some solemn eyes. Two half-saints, you go to Xia's house on your own first, and I'll go see why the fool started fighting again. Qinglu felt a familiar aura among them, an angry look appeared on his face, he cursed and then turned into a wisp of smoke and drifted away. This old man just left like that. Zhonglin was a little stunned as he watched Qinglu disappear, and murmured to himself. He knew that this old man was unreliable. Let's go, master, that's all. Heavenly Beast Mountain Range, edge of Beishan Town. A young man rode on the neck of the monster and flew past. He was very fast and passed through several towering mountain peaks in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, he stopped and stood on the top of the mountain, looking to the north. The young man's long robe is dancing and dancing, the skirt of his clothes is flying, and his body is shrouded in a faint golden glow. The whole person is like a banished immortal descended from heaven, with an extraordinary temperament. The young man's eyes were sharp as the edge of a sword, and the spiritual energy of the surrounding world surged wildly, converging around his body. I heard from my family that my fiancé is coming soon. The man murmured as he stood on the top of the mountain, looking down at the mountains below. The man is Zhou Tian, the young master of the Zhou family who was engaged to Xie Qingyao when they were children. My cultivation is still at the first level of the aperture realm, for God's sake. Zhou Tian clenched his fists, anger and hatred flashed in his eyes, he gritted his teeth and secretly said. In 3 years, his cultivation level has regressed to the realm of Tongchao. And during this period, he felt that the aperture realm might not be the final limit. Perhaps, in a few days, he will fall to the realm of physical training. Perhaps she is here to break off the engagement. There was some speculation in his mind. But then I thought about it, maybe it would be best for him or her to break off the engagement. One is a waste that has gradually turned into a waste, and the other is a Holy Land saint who is thriving and extremely talented. Her future is to take the imperial road and soar into the sky. And he is just an ordinary monk. After figuring it out, Zhou Tian felt a lot more relieved. Maybe we can let them cure my father's disease. Zhou Tian thought of his seriously ill and dying father, and a softness suddenly rose in his heart. He murmured, and then he sat down on the monster and flew forward. My character is good, but I have to think about it for 2 more days. In front is the Shanshui sect. The old man Qinglu unreliably left Xie Qingyao and Zhonglin behind, but he himself disappeared without a trace. Although Xie Qingyao's cultivation in the Tianshuan realm was not as fast as that of the Saint Qinglu, he was not slow either. In 7 days, he should be able to return to his family. Shanshui sect. It's obviously a human sect, why is there such a strong evil spirit here? On Xie Qingyao's shoulder, Zhonglin frowned slightly and asked in confusion. As a monster, he is very sensitive to monster energy. In his perception, the surroundings were filled with thick demonic aura, but there was very little aura of human practitioners. This scene is a little weird. Xie Qingyao raised her eyebrows when she heard this. Could it be? An ominous premonition suddenly arose in her heart. Walk. In order to confirm his inner thoughts, Xie Qingyao quickly moved towards the Shanshui sect. Rumble. The further forward it flew, the thicker the demonic aura became. There was even some bloody smell permeating the surroundings. Xie Qingyao's expression was a little uncertain, as if it was exactly what she thought. Zhonglin also noticed the smell of blood around her, and turned into a bracelet again and wrapped it around her wrist, reminding her, the smell of blood is very strong, be careful. This rich smell of blood is really weird. The smell of monsters and blood mixed together, making it particularly permeable. Landscape sect. A majestic palace stands, which reveals an ancient and desolate atmosphere. With the addition of 13 Elders Peak, it should have been a bustling scene full of talents. At this time, the place was already an extremely miserable scene, full of devastation and blood. Countless corpses lay on the ground, scattered in all directions, with rivers of blood flowing. Bang! There was a loud noise, and a corpse exploded, with blood and flesh flying everywhere. A man in black clothes was covered in blood and his eyes were scarlet. He looked like a bloodthirsty demon. He was holding a bloody knife and slashed at another disciple wearing the attire of a disciple of the Shanshui sect. The blood-colored long sword slashed down with cold murderous intent, directly taking the head of the Shanshui sect disciple. Poof! The disciples of the Shanshui sect raised their hands to resist in horror. Their arms were cut off instantly, and a bone-deep wound appeared on their chests, and bright red blood spurted out. How cruel and cruel this is! Kill them all, leaving no one behind. The man in black licked the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes flashed with excitement, and he commanded ruthlessly. Beside him, there were more than a dozen practitioners wearing black robes and covering their faces. Each of them carries a strong evil spirit, and each of them has at least the cultivation level of the Earth Profound realm. There are also many people in black in the Tianshuan realm. The Shanshui sect disciples were powerless to resist their attacks. In just a few moments, the entire sect was slaughtered, leaving no one alive. Did you find anything? No one in the Shanshui sect survived. 18 men in black gathered in the main hall and looked respectfully at a man in black who was sitting on the main seat. The man in black was tall and burly, wearing a dark cloak that hid his true appearance. At this moment, he opened his eyes, glanced at everyone indifferently, and spoke slowly. His voice was hoarse, like the friction of iron, giving people a harsh feeling. Report to the Lord, we did not find that thing in the Shanshui sect. A man in black replied quickly, with a trace of panic flashing in his eyes and sweat on his forehead. HMPH. Trash, you can't even find a single thing. The man in black's voice was so cold that everyone present couldn't help but shiver. My lord, forgive me. A group of men in black quickly knelt on the ground, begging for mercy in fear. Keep looking. Hurry, the man in black shouted. Yes, the man in black took the order, then quickly dispersed and disappeared into the hall. Within the Shanshui sect, 18 men in black are constantly looking for mysterious items. Outside the Shanshui sect, countless demonic beasts surrounded the Shanshui sect, so densely packed that they could not even be counted. Their mouths and noses were filled with mist, and their eyes were as red as blood, staring at the Shanshui sect, full of greed and desire. Ho ho ho! These monster beasts let out deep roars. From the Earth Profound realm to the body-forging realm, everyone is ready to move. Sure enough, the Shanshui sect was massacred. Looking at this appearance, it is estimated that no one is alive. However, these monsters are still surrounding the Shanshui sect. Who is so generous? For what? High in the sky above, Xie Qingyao, who had arrived late, was watching everything in front of her from a distance, with a wave of emotion in her beautiful eyes. She couldn't understand why a mere Shanshui sect, whose strongest cultivation was only at the Tianshuan realm, allowed them to be exterminated. You must know that it is not an easy task to control so many monsters and beasts gathered here. We've been discovered. Zhong Lin set his sights on the main peak of the Shanshui sect and saw a man in black standing there with his hands behind his back. As if he noticed Zhong Lin's gaze, the man in black suddenly raised his head and looked over with sharp eyes. Call out. Almost instantly, a black light burst out from the fingertips of the man in black, cut through the void, and shot straight towards Zhong Lin. Be careful. Xie Qingyao's pretty face changed slightly and she quickly warned carefully. Facing this fierce attack, Zhong Lin remained motionless. His pupils were constricted, and there were two flames burning in his eyes. In his pupils, there seemed to be two blazing fires, and the blazing flames jumped in his pupils. A fire was lit in the void, and the flame solidified, turning into a fire snake, facing the black light. The fire snake is like a dexterous fire dragon, with teeth and claws, ferocious and domineering. Facing the black light, the fire snake opened its huge mouth and swallowed it in one bite. Bang! As soon as the fire snake swallowed the black light into its belly, it suddenly erupted with a violent roar. The tongues of fire spread, swelling the body of the fire snake, and a scorching heat spread. Crack, click, click. The next moment, there was a crisp sound, and the body of the fire snake suddenly exploded and turned into endless sparks, floating in the air. The waves of the explosion swept across, setting off billowing smoke and dust, obscuring the view. The huge movement also attracted the attention of the people in black around them. They stopped searching and turned to look here. Xie Qingyao, saint of Qingyan Holy Land. When the fire light dissipated, the man in black looked at Xie Qingyao and Zhang Lin, and looked at Xie Qingyao's appearance, with light shining in his eyes. Obviously, he also recognized Xie Qingyao's identity. "Oh, it's you." The man in black looked at Xie Qingyao, his eyes were cold and his tone of voice became colder. With a long knife on his waist, the man in black stepped out, and a terrifying power was released, like an abyss or an ocean. This has suddenly reached the peak of Tianquan. Compared to Xie Qingyao, he is 2 realms higher and is extremely powerful. "Who are you?" Looking at the man in black in front of him, Xie Qingyao said with a slight frown. "HMPH, dead people don't need to know much." The man in black snorted coldly, swung his sword and slashed out, and a bright sword light bloomed. The sword light roared, containing a terrifying edge, as if it was about to tear the sky apart. "Careful." Seeing the attack of the man in black, Zhang Lin quickly shouted to remind Xie Qingyao. Xie Qingyao's dark eyebrows frowned slightly, her palms flew up, and a jade ruler appeared. Buzz. The jade ruler trembled slightly, releasing a vast and majestic energy and instilling it into the jade ruler. Boom. The jade ruler burst out with bright brilliance, like a sun, illuminating all directions and emitting a terrifying wave. The jade ruler flew across the sky, carrying a power that suppressed the heavens, and fell towards the attack of the man in black. Clang. In an instant, the 2 weapons collided together, bursting out with overwhelming energy. At the same time, Zhang Lin also fell into the Shanshui sect. The man in black was already flying in the air and confronting Xie Qingyao. In the Shanshui sect, the blood is soaring to the sky. There were corpses and limbs everywhere, and the blood dyed the entire Shanshui sect red, which was shocking. How cruel. Zhang Lin completely showed his true appearance. The huge body was as huge as a mountain, covered with scales, and its scarlet eyes glowed with bloodlust. Looking at the Shanshui sect with corpses scattered everywhere, a flash of anger flashed across his pupils. On the mountain peak not far away, 18 men in black robes all looked at the giant python that suddenly appeared. Especially when they felt the pressure from Zhang Lin, their expressions changed slightly. What a terrifying monster. The realm of Earth Zon is so oppressive. It's more than a little stronger than the monsters we drove. There was a hint of horror in the eyes of the 18 people. "Who are you?" Zhang Lin's snake eyes locked on the 18 people. His voice was cold and murderous. These 18 people massacred the entire Shanshui sect. This kind of thing must never be forgiven. Regarding Zhang Lin's words, no one among the 18 people answered him, they just looked at each other silently, and immediately, all 18 people took action. 18 streaks of light swept out, carrying terrifying power, and blasted towards Zhang Lin. Boom. 18 streams of light gathered together to form a terrifying beam of light that penetrated the void and slammed into Zhang Lin. Call the wind. Facing the joint attack of 18 people, Zhang Lin showed no sign of weakness. He opened his mouth and spit out a strong wind, causing the surrounding buildings to collapse and collapse. The strong wind passed by, destroying everything, and was extremely destructive. The wind blade roared, tearing at the void, intertwined with the 18 streams of light. Tisk! The wind blade and the streamer annihilated each other and disappeared in midair. Although he is only in the realm of Earth Profound Realm, it is not difficult to defeat the warriors of Tianzan Realm with his powerful body. Seeing Zhang Lin actually blocking a joint attack by 18 people, the men in black were also stunned. Let's go together. Zhang Lin let out a low drink, and a light red halo appeared all over his skin. The light of the sword, the shadow of the sword, the seal of the fist, the wind of the palm. All kinds of attacks came instantly and overwhelmingly. Roar. At this critical moment, a roar came, deafening. Ding! You watched the man in black fight, you were touched, and you understood the man in black's unique skill, Wild Wind Slash. Ding! You watched the man in black fight and gained some insight, and you realized the man in black's unique skill, Evil Sword Technique. Ding! You watched the man in black fight, something happened, and you realized the man in black's unique skill, Rock Fist. The insights of many moves were instantly integrated into Zhang Lin's mind, causing him to fall into an epiphany. Countless wind blades emerged around his body, like a storm vortex, strangling attacks from all around. Even if a move fell on Zhang Lin, with his hard scales and terrifying defense, it couldn't hurt him at all. On the contrary, Zhang Lin also used his strong defense to resist the enemy's attack. Hiss! How come it has such terrible defense power? The men in black looked at Zhonglin, their eyes widened with disbelief. They had never seen monsters with powerful defenses, but they had never seen such powerful defenses as Zhonglin. You must know that among them, there are also those in the Tianquan realm. Although they are only at the first level of Tianquan, the attack power they exert is enough to kill an earthly Zon monster like Zhonglin in an instant. Dragon evil. Suddenly, Zhonglin opened his abyss-like mouth towards them, and blood flowed out from his mouth, filling the entire world. The power of the blood evil seemed to swallow up everything in the world, which was very terrifying. In particular, the blood evil also contains highly toxic substances, and if it is contaminated with even a trace, it will quickly corrode life. Withdraw. When they saw this horrific scene, the faces of the men in black changed drastically and they quickly retreated. The power of this blood evil exceeded their expectations. The bloody evil was like an arrow, and it was very fast, piercing through a man in black, and then chased the other person. In the blink of an eye, 2 more people were shot by the blood evil. This blood evil is very powerful, and once it is contaminated, it will quickly corrode life. I saw that the skin of the 2 people was instantly ulcerated, and thick black smoke was emitting. Dragon evil is highly poisonous and corrosive. Even a warrior in the Tianquan realm may not survive long if he is infected with dragon evil and is not treated and eradicated in time. However, in just a few breaths, the 3 of them died, and their injuries quickly worsened. In the blink of an eye, 2 men in black robes who were in the earth profound realm died in the dragon evil in Zhonglin. The blood evil was overwhelming, covering the entire world and shrouding this area. The flames of the candle sun burned on Zhonglin's body, making him look like a demon. Be careful, the flames on the surface of this beast's body are weird. Also, don't be attacked by him. His attacks are highly poisonous. With the lessons learned from the 2 men in black robes who died just now, the remaining 16 people did not dare to approach Zhonglin and reminded their companions one after another. Let the monsters outside deal with him. Even with so many monsters, they can kill him. We must find that thing as soon as possible. Above, their leader and Xie Qingyao were still fighting fiercely. Although the leader of the man in black has strength at the peak of the sky profound realm, he cannot defeat such a proud woman like Xie Qingyao even if he is 2 realms higher than her. Even vaguely, the balance of the situation between the 2 of them was tilting towards Xie Qingyao, and a hint of weakness gradually emerged. Xie Qingyao's attacks were fierce and deadly, forcing the man in black to retreat. Lead. Below, a man in black robes was holding a mysterious magic formula in his hand, and a strange wave of energy emitted, covering the entire valley. In an instant, outside the Shanshui sect, countless demonic beasts that were ready to move seemed to have been inexplicably summoned. They all rushed towards the Shanshui sect. The roar shook the world, and densely packed monster beasts came from all directions, numbering in the hundreds. Looking at the densely packed monster beasts, the faces of the people in black robes showed excitement. Kill him. He waved his hand, pointed at Zhonglin, and ordered the group of monsters to attack Zhonglin. In an instant, the densely packed monster beasts rushed towards Zhonglin like a tide, with an astonishing momentum. Kill. Zhonglin's eyes were cold and fierce. These monsters can just test his current strength. He wants to test how much strength he has now. From the body forging realm to the earth profound realm, he has no fear at all. With his huge body, he swept everything. Boom! The huge snake tail was like a sky-cleaving axe, sweeping out and smashing several towering ancient trees. PFF'd. The sharp scales tore the beast's chest, and blood spurted out. Zhonglin's body was covered in blood, but he didn't realize it. He was still fighting crazily, rushing through thorns and thorns all the way towards the group of monsters. This guy is so terrifying. His strength at the earth profound realm is comparable to that of the sky profound realm. Looking at Zhonglin, who looked like Shira, the faces of those men in black robes showed horror. After killing dozens of monsters in a row, Zhonglin's condition was still intact. Don't forget our purpose, hurry up. The ever-extinguishing flames of the candle sun burned the entire valley. Zhonglin had become a demon god. No matter where he went, monsters fell down, and screams and wails came one after another. All monsters that came close to Zhonglin were burned by the flames of the candle sun burning on his body. Moreover, Any monsters that are contaminated by the flames of Zhonglin's candle sun cannot be extinguished. They will be slowly burned clean and no bones will be left. Looking at the densely packed and inexhaustible monster beasts, even though their strength may be low, their number is really too many. Everyone get out. Gradually, Zhonglin felt a sense of irritation in his heart. He looked up to the sky and roared, and the thick sound waves spread out. In a short time, the monsters with low strength that rushed up were knocked back. It's really troublesome. Zhonglin turned his head and looked at the scattered men in black robes. I don't know what else they were looking for, but they scattered. A flash of red light flashed in his eyes, and then his huge body was thrown hard to the ground, making a rumbling sound and flying dust. Another large piece of monster beast was knocked over by him. A ball of fire condensed in Zhonglin's mouth, and the hot temperature spread. Boo-hoo-hoo. Flames spurted out, carrying scorching heat, and swept towards the man in black robe in the distance. In an instant, there were screams one after another, and a weaker black-robed man was swallowed up by tongues of fire and turned into ashes. The companions of the man in black robe watched this scene helplessly, filled with anger. He turned around to seek revenge on Zhonglin, but when he turned around and saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned. Zhonglin, who was originally a behemoth, now disappeared without a trace. There was no sign of Zhonglin around the monster. More than a dozen people looked around but could not find Zhonglin. She must have run away. A man in black robe pondered for a moment and said, "The most important thing for us now is to find the thing. The war sky fragments are related to our future. Let's go." Just when everyone thought Zhonglin had escaped, just as they turned around, a voice came from behind them. "Hello, are you looking for me?" The familiar voice made them stop and suddenly turned around, only to see a strange young man in midair, staring at them teasingly. How is this possible? After seeing Zhonglin's appearance clearly, their pupils shrank suddenly. All of them felt a familiar aura from the young man who suddenly appeared in front of them. Yes, it was the breath of the giant python just now. And this young man is exactly what Zhonglin looked like after his transformation. At this time, Zhonglin was dressed in a fiery red robe, his handsome features were filled with a kind of indifference, and his eyes were dark and deep, giving people a majesty that penetrated into the soul. On the fiery red robe, the surrounding lotus patterns are even more lifelike. A red flame dragon coiled around the fiery red robe, like a living creature, baring its teeth and claws. He stood proudly in the void, looking down at the people below, with a strong sense of sarcasm in his eyes. I didn't want to be exposed, but it's a pity. You are the... Seeing Zhonglin's familiar face, several men in black robes had incredible expressions on their faces. The monster has turned into a human form. Today is your death day. The flames of the candle sun danced on his palm, and as Zhonglin finished speaking, the small flaming lotus suddenly shot out and headed towards the men in black robes. Dragon evil, die. Following Zhonglin's words, small flame lotuses appeared around him, each blooming with dazzling brilliance, and a terrifying aura was released from them. Boom, go. Pulling with his fingers, flaming lotuses burst out in an instant. The howling wind resounded in the ears, and those flame lotuses brought a destructive aura, overwhelmingly oppressing them. The terrifying temperature and scorching heat made it difficult to breathe. The people in black robes were all using their spiritual power to form a defensive shield on their surface, trying to block the terrifying flame lotus. Bang! The next moment, the flame lotus landed on the shield, exploded in an instant, and set off a terrifying air wave. Those defensive shields could not withstand the attack of the flame lotus. In the blink of an eye, the defensive shield was shattered, and the flame lotus, carrying terrifying heat, fell directly on many black-robed men. Boom boom boom. Violent explosions kept coming, and the clothes of the black-robed men who could not dodge were burned through by flames, which were inexhaustible and unextinguishable. Like tarsal maggots, burning the spiritual power in their bodies, even their blood essence. Ah! The screams were endless. Figures fell to the ground one after another, looking extremely embarrassed. Above, the leader of the men in black, the man in black. At this moment, injuries gradually appeared on his body, and the black clothes were broken a lot. A trace of blood seeped out from the wound. This man's face was extremely gloomy, and his eyes shone with a cold light, which made people feel chilled all over. Xie Qingyao. He gritted his teeth, eyes flashing with hatred. Xie Qingyao. These 3 words squeezed out from between the teeth. They went through a lot of hard work and finally found the news about the Zontian fragments. They finally destroyed the Shanshui sect and finally found the Zontian fragments, but what's the result? But at this moment, Xie Qingyao came out halfway and disrupted their plan. In the crack, the man in black also took this opportunity to glance at his subordinates below. But seeing them being pressed down and beaten by Zhong Lin's beast, with constant casualties, the man in black's face turned livid. Although I don't particularly care about these subordinates, after all, they were trained by their organization. It also paid a huge price. Who are you? What are you doing to slaughter the Shanshui sect? Xie Qingyao stared at the man in black robes with cold eyes. The jade ruler in her hand shone with a strange luster, her brows were full of murderous intent, and the desire to fight in her eyes became stronger and stronger. His consciousness swept down, and he secretly wanted to deal with the man in black in front of him as soon as possible, and then go to help Zhong Lin. She believed that with Zhong Lin alone, he should not be a match for the group of men in black robes. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. However, when she glanced below and saw the battle below, her expression was slightly startled. Even if he held the jade ruler tightly in his hand, he forgot to wave it and just looked down blankly. No familiar figure was found below. Instead, a familiar yet unfamiliar figure caught her attention. Familiar scent, unfamiliar faces. Looking at this young man, Xie Qingyao looked a little dazed, with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. If she guessed correctly, that was Zhong Lin. How come he transformed? Didn't he say that he couldn't transform? Die. In a trance, the man in black seized the opportunity when Xie Qingyao was in a daze, suddenly approached him, and raised his hand to slash out. Hiss. The sharp blade struck Xie Qingyao's head with terrifying power. Feeling the dangerous aura coming from above her head, Xie Qingyao reacted very quickly, raising her hand and ruler to block it above her head. Boom. The terrifying collision broke out, and the violent aftermath spread out, causing the whole world to buzz. Dang Dang stared. The 2 stepped back a few meters at the same time. At this time, Xie Qingyao also reacted and stopped thinking about those messy things. But if you are next to Xie Qingyao, you can hear her lips whispering. Liar, big liar. But at the corner of her mouth, a faint smile slowly formed, a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. A big liar, he can take shape, and he keeps lying to me. A vague past event in my heart gradually became clear at this time, and a hint of complexity appeared on Xie Qingyao's pretty face. Do not care. Soon, Xie Qingyao came back to her senses. With a bright light in her eyes, she looked at the enemy in front of her, planning to get rid of him first and make trouble for Zhong Lin. As soon as she finished speaking, the jade ruler in her hand burst into dazzling white brilliance. Xie Qingyao did this to the man in black, and the king's soldier, the heavenly jade ruler, suddenly burst out with dazzling brilliance. This ray of light, like moonlight or starlight, carries mysterious and infinite power, traversing the sky and shrouding the man in black. The heavenly jade ruler in her hand as a true weapon of the king. The king's weapon, in her hands, was fully activated by her at this moment, and the power it unleashed was enough to destroy everything. Even the man in black at the peak of Tianshuan felt the huge danger at this moment. His pupils shrank suddenly, and he looked at the jade ruler in Xie Qingyao's hand in fear, and the hairs on his body stood up. This is the king's soldier. The light covered the sky and sun, like the Milky Way falling from the sky, heading towards the man in black. Boom! The heaven and earth trembled, and the space was distorted. Run! This was the thought that suddenly arose in his heart at this time. Without any hesitation, he turned around and ran away. He could feel that if he was touched by this power, he would definitely die. Can you run away? Xie Qingyao snorted lightly. Immediately, he stepped forward suddenly, and the jade ruler in his hand once again bloomed with a terrifying brilliance. Rumble! This ray of light seemed to break through the sky and tear the void apart. It rushed towards the man in black with destructive power. The man in black felt a strong shock in his heart. He wanted to escape, but it was too late. This terrifying attack swallowed him up almost instantly. Ah, Xie Qingyao, our secret palace will not let you go. Along with a burst of miserable shouts, the figure was completely annihilated in this terrifying power. It's not that he's not strong enough, it's that this king's soldier is too strong. According to the words of the old man Qinglu, it is infinitely close to the quasi-holy soldier. Looking at the void that was reduced to ashes, Xie Qingyao let out a long sigh of relief. Then the body quickly swept downwards. She wants to help Zhang Lin. Swallowing a few pills to replenish spiritual power can quickly make up for the spiritual power consumed after using the Heavenly Jade Ruler. Although the power of the Heavenly Jade Ruler is indeed great, the spiritual power required is also massive. If it is an ordinary practitioner, even if it is squeezed dry, it may not be able to activate this king's soldiers. Below, Zhang Lin looked coldly at the men in black robes who were still resisting desperately. They continued to dodge the candle sun fire lotus. At this moment, their black robes had been destroyed into disfigurement, exposing the bloody flesh underneath. Blood gurgled out and soaked into their clothes, making them look particularly ferocious and terrifying. No one can leave today. A gloomy smile appeared on Zhang Lin's lips. You guys, just go down and accompany those innocent people from the Shanshui sect. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved his fingers, and the flames of the candle sun roared out. The red flames rolled across the sky and turned into huge waves, sweeping over the sky and covering the earth, as if the end of the world was coming. Retreat. When the men in black robes saw this, their expressions changed one after another, and they quickly ordered everyone to run away quickly. Especially, the aura of their leader has disappeared. This instantly shattered their hearts, and their belief in continuing to persevere was gone. And coupled with this abnormally powerful monster in front of him. At this moment, they had already thought about retreating. It's a pity that Zhang Lin can't let them escape, let alone allow them to continue to live in the world. Burn it, the flames of the candle sun. He sneered, controlled the flames, and chased after those people. Boom boom boom. The flames rolled, and the blazing heat burned the void. Some men in black robes who failed to escape in time fell into the sea of fire and screamed repeatedly. There were also men in black robes who had excellent escape speed and escaped such a disaster. Call. There was a man in black robe who had escaped. Seeing that he had escaped, he was relieved and couldn't help wiping the cold sweat on his forehead. In particular, when he turned around and saw his companions who had not escaped the disaster in the sea of fire, and saw them being burned by the flames of the candle sun and struggling in pain, this made the surviving man in black sweat break out in cold sweat from behind, and his heart was filled with tears. A palpitation. He didn't know why, but he always felt a little chilly. I have an ominous premonition in my heart. The next moment, the breath of death enveloped their hearts. The next second, a sky-opening sword energy cut through the sky and fell from the sky. With a pop, those men in black robes who were lucky enough to survive were split into two halves. No, Xie Qingyao's figure fell from above, holding a long sword in his hand. Obviously, the sword light just now was caused by her slashing. It's over. After all the men and horses in the dark hall were beheaded, Xie Qingyao opened her red lips and said lightly. At this time, her shoulders also sank slightly, as if something fell on her shoulders. Turning her head slightly, she saw Zhang Lin appearing on her shoulder again. Moreover, it was not in human form, but in the form of a snake. Xie Qingyao's eyelids drooped, unable to feel any of her emotions at this time. She just looked at Zhang Lin quietly. There is no movement. There was no response. It seemed that Zhang Lin was not seen at all. Here she stands. A weird atmosphere spread all around. Zhang Lin also felt this strange atmosphere. On Xie Qingyao's shoulder, Zhang Lin turned his head and looked at Xie Qingyao. The two pairs of eyes looked at each other, and Zhang Lin felt a chill rising from his spine, and the whole snake became stiff. What's wrong? Seeing Xie Qingyao behaving in such a weird way, Zhang Lin didn't know what happened and couldn't help but ask. There was an inexplicable fear in his heart. Xie Qingyao still ignored Zhang Lin. After a long time, Zhang Lin finally couldn't bear it anymore and once asked, "What's wrong? I'm a little scared when you're like this." As he said that, he even stepped back. When Xie Qingyao heard this, she still ignored it. She even didn't blink her eyes. "Do you know, you cheated me." After a long time, Xie Qingyao spoke slowly, her tone calm and without any waves, as if she was telling something completely unrelated to her. Huh. Hearing this, Zhang Lin was stunned at first, and then suddenly understood. Then he looked a little embarrassed, After all, he had deceived Xie Qingyao. I was. He opened his mouth, but hesitated to speak. In the end, he could only sigh and apologize. I was wrong. This scene made Xie Qingyao slightly surprised. However, she didn't say much. Actually, even if you told the truth at that time, it would be okay. I won't blame you. Xie Qingyao said quietly, and after saying that, he flew towards the site of Shanshui Sect. What? Hearing this, Zhang Lin was startled and turned his head to look at her. Did he hear it correctly just now? Xie Qingyao actually forgave him. Have you forgiven me? Zhang Lin asked again in disbelief. When Xie Qingyao heard this, he paused for a moment, then continued to move forward, but he said, these people are all from the Dark Palace. I just don't know why they slaughtered the Shanshui sect. Xie Qingyao's brows furrowed as she looked at the scene of corpses strewn in front of her. In my heart, I became more and more disgusted with the organization Andean. Xie Qingyao deeply hates organizations like theirs that kill countless lives at every turn. She had heard about this behavior of Andean many times, but this was the first time she saw it with her own eyes. Looking at the devastated ground, a trace of complexity flashed in her eyes. They are looking for something called a war sky fragment. But judging from their appearance, they probably haven't been found. On her shoulder, Zhang Lin's voice sounded leisurely. Tell Xie Qingyao the information he accidentally heard from them before. War sky fragments. Xie Qingyao was startled when he heard this. Yes, that's the kind of thing. Zhang Lin nodded, then looked at the Shanshui sect, shook his head with some regret, and said, I just don't know where that thing was hidden. He sighed secretly in his heart. Fortunately, the things were not found by the people in the Dark Palace. Things that can attract their attention must be valuable. War Sky Shard, I have heard of this thing, but only by chance. Zantian actually refers to a great emperor hundreds of thousands of years ago. Emperor name, Zantian. The world respects him as Emperor Zantian, and the fragment of Zantian, I heard Master said that time, seems to be the key to Emperor Zantian's tomb after he emerged. But I don't know the more specific details. Xie Qingyao said slowly, thinking of the legendary fallen strong man Zantiandi. She couldn't help but show admiration. What a majestic man that was. With every move of his hands and feet, all the creatures in the universe were prostrate. Although that is just a legend. However, this did not prevent her from yearning for the Emperor of Heaven. Battle the Emperor of Heaven. Is it something related to the Emperor of Heaven? I see. By the way, what is the origin of the Dark Palace? This was the first time Zhang Lin heard the name Andean. He immediately looked at Xie Qingyao and asked her. Dark Palace, just by hearing this name, you know it is definitely not a good thing. In fact, this is indeed the case. Not only is the Dark Palace not a good thing, it is also an evil organization that the world hates. I don't know much about Andean. No, probably everyone doesn't know much about him. We don't know their specific origins or when they appeared. It was only tens of thousands of years ago that they assassinated a quasi-emperor and became famous. Then they began to assassinate all the high-ranking officials and powerful people. They even slaughter small countries and plunder resources and skills. In just a few thousand years, the world has fallen into chaos. Later, because the top forces took action to suppress it, the situation gradually stabilized. However, their home base has never been clear. Xie Qingyao spoke slowly, with some fear in his eyes. Mainly assassination, ruthless means and powerful. I don't know where I came from, I don't know where I'm from, everything is unknown. Who wouldn't be afraid of such an enemy? This time we killed the people from the Dark Palace and hindered their work. I'm afraid we have to be careful in the future. After hearing this, Zhang Lin's face became a little more solemn and he said in a deep voice. As Xie Qingyao said, I'm afraid they will be targeted by the Dark Palace from now on. Let's look for the Zantian fragments first. I'm also curious about the Zantian Emperor. Xie Qingyao said. Her voice was calm, and she seemed not to be afraid of the Dark Palace. But yes, as a saint of Qingyan Holy Land, she naturally has many life-saving means. Where are the fragments of the War Sky? Regarding the fragments of the War Sky, Zhang Lin's snake also had a look of curiosity in his eyes and murmured. His figure slowly coiled into a ball, and his eyes kept scanning the ruins of Shanshui Sect, searching for anything suspicious. Xie Qingyao walked into the Shanshui sect with her legs raised. Wherever he passed, blood flowed all over the ground, which was shocking. Her steps became more determined. There were corpses everywhere, and every few steps they took, they could see a corpse. Their eyes were wide open, with various expressions of resentment, anger, and despair blending together and gathering together, as if frozen. Xie Qingyao walked forward silently until she reached the main hall of the Shanshui sect, and her eyes just stayed in the main hall. In the main hall, the broken statue fell to the ground, and there was blood flowing on the surrounding floor. Here is a painting. Zhang Lin turned his head and focused his gaze on the side wall. Under the side wall, there was a huge picture that fell to the ground. Xie Qingyao heard this, step forward and pick up the picture. Only then did she realize that the painting was indeed very large, several meters long and wide. You can't see the whole thing when you hold it in your hand. Only by hanging it on the wall can you get a full view of it. It was a man, wearing armor, riding a war horse, holding a spear, majestic and full of domineering, like the master of heaven and earth. He was holding a spear, and there, he exuded a mighty aura, as if the collapse of the world was not enough to shake him. Even though it is just a portrait, it still carries an indescribable majesty and momentum. It really looks like an emperor. Zhang Lin couldn't help but sigh. A portrait of a semi-saint. There is a hint of saintly energy in the portrait. Like a holy weapon, it can be used for attack and defense. It's a pity that the spirituality of this portrait is too weak, and due to the passage of time, it has long been of no use. Xie Qingyao said softly, with a trace of regret in her eyes. Half-saint, I didn't expect that this small Shanshui sect would actually produce a half-saint. But it's a pity that the years have changed and the glory of the past is gone now. Xie Qingyao shook her head, feeling a little confused. Ding, you looked at the portrait of the half-saint, gained some insights, and realized the will of the gun plus 1%. Zhang Lin looked at the portrait, and a system prompt sounded in his mind. At the same time, insights about marksmanship emerged. This half-saint's portrait is actually a treasure. Zhang Lin was stunned for a moment, and then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Of course, it was just a treasure to him. If it were handed into the hands of others, it might not be of much use. With a sparkle in his eyes, he got down from Xie Qingyao's shoulders and squatted next to the scroll, studying it carefully. Xie Qingyao didn't say anything when she saw Zhang Lin was so interested in the painting. He just walked aside silently, searching for clues about the Zontian fragments. Ding, you looked at the portrait of the half-saint, gained some insights, and realized the will of the gun plus 1%. Ding, you looked at the portrait of the half-saint, gained some insights, and realized the will of the gun plus 1%. Ding, you looked at the portrait of the half-saint, gained some insights, and realized the will of the gun plus 1%. Ding, you looked at the portrait of the half-saint and gained some insights, realizing the will of the spear. I don't know how much time has passed. Like a sculpture, Zhang Lin, who had been looking at the portrait, suddenly had countless mysteries in his mind. A stinging sensation hit him, making him curl up, his body trembling violently, cold sweat dripping on his forehead, his eyes closed tightly, and his teeth clenched. It was obvious that he was suffering from some kind of pain. In his mind, there seemed to be a ghost image of a spear, waving in the air, every move, showing its ingenuity, simplicity and beauty. Gun intent. This is the highest state of marksmanship, the artistic conception of the gun. After a long time, Zhang Lin finally breathed a sigh of relief and slowly opened his eyes bursting with bright light. The whole person exudes a sharp edge. The will of the gun. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Zhang Lin, what's wrong with you? Zhang Lin curled up and kept shaking. This made Xie Qingyao's heart tighten, and she quickly walked to his side and asked. Fine. Zhang Lin still had an excited look on his face at this moment. However, I may know where the Zontian fragments are. A pair of snake eyes stared closely at the portrait on the wall, and said to Xie Qingyao with a firm gaze. Just now, when he was comprehending the meaning of the gun in the portrait, he accidentally discovered the little secret in the portrait. Do you know where the Zontian fragments are hidden? Feng Mei raised her eyebrows, and Xie Qingyao looked at Zhang Lindao in surprise. Yes, the thing is in this portrait. I really didn't expect it to be hidden in it. Zhang Lin nodded, his eyes flashing, and he said. The portrait is hung on the wall, with one person and one snake looking at it silently. After Xie Qingyao heard Zhang Lin's words, she also observed carefully. His eyes fell on the painting, and a trace of spiritual power was released, seeping into the painting, and began to investigate. When the spiritual power enters the portrait, it is like a solitary boat sailing on the vast ocean, extremely small. However, the next second, the trace of spiritual power she injected suddenly disappeared. It's like it never existed. There is something strange in this painting. Xie Qingyao frowned and said. The inexplicable changes made Xie Qingyao begin to have a new understanding of this portrait. I also have 90% confidence in Zhang Lin's words. Perhaps, it's not certain that the battle sky fragments are really in it. The universe is hidden within. Zhang Lin squinted his eyes slightly and looked at the portrait with burning eyes. Xie Qingyao channeled some spiritual power into the portrait. The result was exactly the same as before. The spiritual power disappeared, as if completely disappearing from the world in the painting. Just a few more seconds passed. The portrait suddenly underwent slight changes. Below the portrait, a light suddenly appeared somewhere. A silk thread extended from the light and spread upwards, outlining the shape of a door. Vaguely virtual and real. Try to transfer some more spiritual power. Xie Qingyao whispered, and spiritual power was injected again. This time, the light became brighter, and gradually solidified. The portal gradually revealed its outline and solidified. Out. Zhang Lin looked at the increasingly solid portal and murmured in a low voice, with a gleam of surprise in his eyes. Xie Qingyao also had a happy smile on his face. Click. However, at this moment, a crisp voice sounded, causing both of them to look up. I saw a crack on the door. The crack spread, covering the entire door in the blink of an eye, and soon exploded and disappeared. What's going on? Zhang Lin's eyes widened. This should be the last layer of restrictions on the portrait. Although it has been broken, there is still some power left to seal the items inside. Now that the door is destroyed, the seal will naturally dissipate. Xie Qingyao said. Yeah, Zhang Lin nodded when he heard this. Both of their eyes were fixed on the broken door, waiting for what was inside to appear. Sure enough, it was just as she said. The next second, a vortex slowly appeared. Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao's pupils dilated instantly, their eyes fixed on the thing in the center of the whirlpool. The vortex spread slowly, and a dark stone appeared in the air, covered with complex patterns and runes. This is War Sky Fragments. Looking at the stone that emerged from the whirlpool, Zhang Lin's eyes glazed over for a moment, looking at it in disbelief. Then he turned to look at Xie Qingyao, but was shocked to find that Xie Qingyao also had the same shocked expression. Both of their eyes were fixed on the stone. Obviously, their understanding of the War Sky fragment in front of them broke. The same goes for Xie Qingyao. This is the first time she has seen such fragments. What a powerful existence it is to fight against the Emperor of Heaven. But how could the Zontian fragments left behind be so ordinary? Buzz. The War Sky fragments were suspended in midair, emitting a faint silver glow. Full of mysterious lines and ancient atmosphere, it gives people a feeling of heavy vicissitudes. Is this really the legendary Battle Sky fragment? Xie Qingyao gently stroked the surface of the War Sky fragment and murmured to himself. Turning it over and looking at it, there is nothing special about it except for the incomprehensible lines. As soon as the Zontian fragments were put away, the portrait hanging on the wall began to collapse, quickly turned into dust, and disappeared. Immediately, a gust of wind blew, and the painting scroll turned into fly ash and scattered in the air. Boom! The dilapidated hall finally began to collapse at this moment, with rubble scattered and dust filling the air. Boom! The statue in the hall collapsed and fell next to Zhang Lin. Walk! Xie Qingyao also grabbed Zhang Lin, let him wrap around her wrist, and walked outside. When she stepped out of the hall behind her suddenly collapsed. The Shanshui sect has been officially removed from the list from now on. With the things in hand, there was no point in staying here any longer. At that moment, Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao left the Shanshui sect. The last thing they could do was to cremate all the bodies of the Shanshui sect disciples. Next stop, where to go? Zhang Lin climbed from Xie Qingyao's wrist to her shoulder again. He wrapped his slender body around Xie Qingyao's neck, put the snake's head against her ear, and spoke softly. The warm breath lingered around her earlobes. Xie Qingyao's whole body trembled, a blush appeared on her cheeks, and she turned her head involuntarily to prevent Zhong Lin from getting closer. When Zhong Lin saw this scene, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Xie Qingyao didn't say anything about him not transforming and still haunting her in the body of a monster. Apparently it's the default. Zhong Lin sniffed Xie Qingyao's unique fragrance, his eyes couldn't help but squint, and he felt a sense of comfort in his heart. Next stop, go to Tianxiang City. There are also forces from our Qingyan Holy Land in Tianxiang City, and there is also a teleportation array in Tianxiang City. Through the teleportation array, we can save a lot of time. Xie Qingyao thought for a while and answered. The old man is really unreliable, and I don't know when he will come back. Zhong Lin nodded, and couldn't help but think of the unreliable old man in Qinglu, and complained. Just get used to it. Master is the Holy Lord of the Holy Land, so he naturally has more things to do. Xie Qingyao explained. Oh, forget it. After hearing what Xie Qingyao said, Zhong Lin stopped complaining, sighed, and said. The divine rainbow crossed the night sky and flew towards Tianxiang City. The bright stars fell down, illuminating the figures of the two people, with a somewhat peaceful mood. Dark, mysterious, unknown place. Black clouds enveloped the entire land, thunder and lightning flashed, and arcs of electricity crisscrossed. A gloomy, dark atmosphere permeated the world, making people shudder and feel horrified. Among them, there are several halls suspended in the air, connected by iron chains made of unknown materials, floating in the sky like mirages, and their specific appearance cannot be clearly seen. In the corner, an inconspicuous hall. Suddenly there was a faint light. There are unknown formation patterns circulating. Inside the main hall, a disheveled woman sat cross-legged. The woman's skin was sickly pale, and her facial features were delicate and beautiful, but lifeless. Suddenly, the woman's eyes opened, a pair of deep and cold eyes, filled with deep silence. They're all dead. I didn't get anything either. Before she could finish her words, the woman's clothes suddenly exploded on the surface of her body. Revealed the spring glory, but the woman seemed to have been used to it for a long time and didn't care much about this sudden release of love. Hey, Sky City. The city is majestic, like a giant monster crawling on the ground. The surroundings are filled with spiritual energy and mist. The auras of practitioners are everywhere, and all kinds of spiritual birds and beasts are flying around. One after another, figures kept passing by and entering various shops. There are branches of the Tongtian Chamber of Commerce in various states. The branch of the Alchemy Pavilion is world famous and known as the Holy Land of Alchemists. All of them have extremely strong strength and background in Tianxiang City. Just looking at Tianxiang City from a distance, Zhong Lin couldn't help but exclaimed. Very nice. He was like a country bumpkin, looking at the Tianxiang City in the distance with a curious expression on his face. This Tianxiang City is just average. But although the sparrow is small, it has all the internal organs. Xie Qingyao looked at the city in the distance and said. Although this Tianxiang City is not big, it has everything it should have. We haven't arrived at Tianxiang City yet. In the distance, in the center of Tianxiang City, a colorful corridor suddenly rose up, spanning the sky over Tianxiang City, like a rainbow bridge, magnificent and dazzling. All these changes quickly attracted everyone's attention. Many monks gathered together, looking up at the rainbow-like bridge above the sky, talking in stunned silence. In the sky, the long rainbow bridge gradually took shape, getting longer and longer, and finally stabilized completely. This is someone from Qingyan Holy Land. Some sharp-eyed monks reacted immediately when they saw the appearance of the rainbow bridge. The colorful corridor appeared from the territory of Qingyan Holy Land. I wonder which big shot from Qingyan Holy Land came here. He actually caused such a scene. Tisk, tisk, look at this battle. I'm afraid it's either the saint's son or the saint from Qingyan Holy Land or a certain elder. A group of people gathered outside Tianxiang City and refused to disperse. They were talking and discussing non-stop. In Tianxiang City, all kinds of people gathered together and it was extremely noisy. At the same time, in Tianxiang City, big figures from all sides were secretly watching. They were also curious about who would come to Tianxiang City. They didn't get any news before. If it hadn't been for the appearance of the colorful corridor, I'm afraid they wouldn't have known about it. Boom, boom, boom. Accompanied by the sound of drums that shook the void, a figure walked slowly in the colorful glow. The figure was dressed in a snow-white dress, with a cloak swaying in the wind, and black hair scattered around her waist. Her skin was as beautiful as snow, bright and moving, and there was a hint of majesty between her brows. At this time, her footsteps were stepping on the colorful corridor, and every step she took seemed to be stepping on people's heartbeats. The appearance of the woman immediately drew everyone's attention. The peerless appearance stopped everyone's breathing for a moment. Every move she made affected the minds of all the men present. Hiss! Many people gasped and exclaimed. The Saint of Qingyan Holy Land. I never thought it would be her coming here. Someone recognized the identity of the woman in white and immediately exclaimed. That's right, the woman is Xie Qingyao. On her wrist, Zhonglin turned into a bracelet and wrapped it around her, tightly clasping it on Xie Qingyao's slender jade wrist. Just now, when they were about to approach Tianxiang City, the colorful corridor extended directly to their feet. At the end of the colorful corridor, the practitioners belonging to Qingyan Holy Land are waiting there. When they saw Xie Qingyao, they all bowed their heads respectfully and shouted in unison, "Welcome the Saint." Get up. With a cold face and an indifferent glance at the many Qingyan disciples in front of him, Xie Qingyao opened his mouth and said lightly. As Xie Qingyao's voice sounded, these Qingyan disciples slowly straightened up and looked at Xie Qingyao, with a burning luster in their eyes. At the same time, Xie Qingyao also raised his head slightly and looked into the void. Facing the powerful ones who were hiding in the void and observing in secret. But she just glanced at them and stopped paying attention to them. Just go inside. And those people in the dark also dispersed after watching Xie Qingyao's figure disappear. Although they don't know why the Saint of Qingyan Holy Land came here suddenly, as long as they don't cause trouble in Tianxiang City, it's none of their business. Of course, even if they cause trouble, they don't seem to be able to offend the people of Qingyan Holy Land. In particular, Xie Qingyao is also a direct disciple of the Holy Lord of Qingyan Holy Land. Holy Lord Qinglu is a very protective guy. In the main hall. Xie Qingyao sat on the main seat, and an old woman stood respectfully in front of him. This old woman has a stooped figure and a full head of silver hair. Her cloudy eyes have a gleam of wisdom, and her aura clearly indicates that she is at the 4th level of the Sky Profound Realm. Your Highness the Saint, what are your orders here? The old woman stood there with a respectful expression and asked. Although she was a guest of Qingyan Holy Land, she did not dare to show off in front of Xie Qingyao, and her status was very different. I don't have any orders. I just came to use the teleportation array in Tianxiang City. Xie Qingyao said calmly. Apart from borrowing the teleportation array, she and Zhonglin had nothing to do. There was nothing in Tianxiang City that could attract her. She is a majestic Qingyan saint, well informed. She has been to places more prosperous than Tianxiang City. How could she possibly see a mere Tianxiang City? So that's it. Hearing Xie Qingyao's words, the old woman nodded. Your Highness, please wait a moment. A few days ago, a batch of stones came to Lifang City. I wonder if Her Majesty the Saint would be interested. That batch of stones are all high-quality products quarried from Taiku stone mines. Although the quantity is not large, the quality is high. The old woman suddenly thought of something and smiled at Xie Qingyao. Hearing the old woman's words, Xie Qingyao raised her eyebrows. Stones from the Taiku mine. Really? If it was really the stone transported from the Taiku stone mine, then Xie Qingyao would naturally be interested. After all, the Taiku stone mine is a world-famous ancient stone mine. Some people even prescribed great medicines, magic weapons, exercises and spiritual treasures from the stones. What's more, ancient creatures have been prescribed elixirs from it. In this regard, Xie Qingyao was naturally very interested in the stone mine from the Taiku stone mine. Absolutely true. The old woman nodded slightly, and after pondering for a moment, she continued to speak. Your Highness the Saint, please come this way. The market is not far away. The old woman stretched out her palm and motioned for Xie Qingyao to follow her and leave. No, I can just go by myself. Xie Qingyao waved her hand and rejected the old woman's proposal. Decided to go to Fengxi alone. Also avoid causing too much of a stir. Going to gamble on stones. Xie Qingyao's words also aroused Zhonglin's interest. He leaned close to Xie Qingyao's neck and spoke. Qingyan Holy Land. Tianxiang City Base. Gambling Shifang City. Xie Qingyao also changed her appearance at this moment, becoming like an ordinary person, wearing a plain white dress, looking more ordinary. Walking into Fangxi. Along the way, you can see many disciples coming and going, transporting various heavy stones. As this stone, for the first time, Zhonglin truly transformed into a human form in front of Xie Qingyao. He stood beside Xie Qingyao and looked at the stones in the city. Yes, but from the looks of it, they are probably all ordinary stones, and the chance of there being treasures inside is very small. The only thing that can really yield good things depends on the stones mined from the Taiku stone mine. Xie Qingyao looked at these stones and said calmly, "These are ordinary stones and cannot be discerned by her. Only the innermost, most precious stones were worthy of her attention. But, by the way, this is the first time you've transformed in front of me." At this point, Xie Qingyao turned around, her eyes fell on Zhonglin, and the corners of her mouth curved. "You also said that you can't transform. When I think of your words, I want to beat you up." Raising his jade hand, clenching his fist, and making two gestures towards Zhonglin, Xie Qingyao said with a wicked smile on his face. Seeing Xie Qingyao's appearance, Zhonglin shrugged helplessly. "Okay, let's go take a look at the stones inside first." He directly took Xie Qingyao's jade hand and walked inside. Zhonglin held Xie Qingyao's hand and walked in front. Xie Qingyao let Zhonglin pull her and did not break away, but there was something strange in her heart. His face was slightly red and his heartbeat was racing. "Zhonglin, did you remember anything?" Suddenly, Xie Qingyao, who was following Zhonglin, stopped slowly and asked Zhonglin. "Huh, what?" When Xie Qingyao suddenly called out, Zhonglin said with some confusion. "What do you remember?" She scratched her head and didn't understand why she asked this. "What do you think of?" Zhonglin thought quickly in his mind. He didn't seem to have forgotten anything in his memory. Seeing Zhonglin's appearance, Xie Qingyao also shook her head, understanding in her heart. Zhonglin didn't think of anything, nothing. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in her heart, but she immediately suppressed it. She doesn't want anything more now. It's okay for him to be by her side all the time. "Let's go." Looking at Zhonglin's doubtful eyes, Xie Qingyao said nothing more. He took the initiative to hold his hand and walked towards the city. Peripheral. Countless dark gray stones were piled together and divided into several platforms. Around the platform, there are many practitioners observing, trying to find a stone that suits them, buy it, and then cut it. I fantasize about being able to extract great medicines, magic weapons, or spiritual treasures from stones. I fantasize about being able to soar into the sky and change my destiny by betting on stones. Unfortunately, there are very few who can actually do this. Most of the stones outside are scraps that have been picked out. In every city, there are several Yuantian masters. They used special means to divide and select these stones. The stones that appear on the periphery were picked out, and their value is not high. Of course, Yuantian master will also make mistakes, and not all stones can be detected. They rely on their years of experience to judge the value of those invisible stones. Therefore, picking up leaks also happens from time to time. Hey, 300 kilograms of source can produce such a spiritual jade fruit. As soon as he got closer, he heard a sigh from a cultivator who had just opened the Ling jade fruit. After you have changed it, the Ling jade fruit is still worth 100 kilograms of origin stones. Look at me, 200 kilograms of origin stones have been completely wasted and nothing has been produced. Another practitioner looked at the empty stones inside with a face full of grief and anger, and shouted that he hated iron but could not turn it into steel. Situations like this often happen in the city. Some are happy and some are sad. Zhonglin stopped in front of a pile of stones. He looked at the stones on the platform and tried to use his spiritual consciousness to explore the stones, hoping to find some strange places. However, the ending was also what he expected. The spiritual consciousness cannot see through the dark gray surface and see inside the stone. Deep in his pupils, there were two flames burning. Ding, you use the flame of the candle sun to look at the stone, and you have some understanding in your heart, and you realize the magical power, the pupil of the candle sun. The eye of the candle sun, see through illusions and gain insight into the essence. The system's beep sounded in Zhonglin's mind. This surprised Zhang Lin, because he didn't expect this to happen. He just tried using the flame of the candle sun, but who knew it could actually give him such a surprise. Don't try, spiritual consciousness is useless for these stones. Seeing Zhang Lin staring at the stones, Xie Qingyao said. She also expressed her understanding of Zhang Lin's behavior. When she first saw stones and played stone gambling, she, like Zhang Lin, used her spiritual sense at first. Later, her master told her that spiritual consciousness was of no use to these stones. I'll teach you a book of treasure skills. Once you practice it, you can roughly guess the value of some stones. Xie Qingyao stretched out a finger, put it on Zhang Lin's eyebrows, and said. At the same time, a huge amount of information poured into Zhang Lin's mind. Origin Exploration Technique. The name of this treasure technique, when practiced to perfection, can detect the divine source of earth veins, and can also simply detect the value of stones. Zhang Lin carefully digested this magic. Although he had the eye of the candle sun, he could see through illusions and see through the inside of stones. But this, origin exploration technique, also has some effects on him. Ding, you understand the source exploration technique, understand the way of spiritual veins and divine sources, and create your own magic, the art of heavenly veins. The art of heavenly veins. Searching for dragon veins, patrolling spiritual veins, and exploring the source of the gods. All things in the world can be traced. Turn the dragon vein into the formation eye, place the divine formation in the divine formation, and fight to change the world. As obscure characters appeared in Zhang Lin's mind one by one, an obscure magical spell appeared in Zhang Lin's mind. After thinking for a long time, Zhang Lin slowly opened his eyes, and a flash of light flashed through his eyes. The art of Tianmai is really miraculous. With this heavenly vein technique, none of the dragon veins, spiritual veins, and divine veins in this world can escape my eyes. Zhang Lin whispered in his heart. Of course, the most terrifying thing is the formation of the divine formation with dragon veins as the formation eye. Turn the pulse into your own use and reverse the yin and yang. Seriously, it can be called a divine art. How about it? The origin exploration technique shouldn't be difficult for you, right? Chapter 21. It's not difficult. Zhang Lin chuckled softly. The source exploration technique is naturally not difficult for him. And Xie Qingyao would never have thought that after she taught Zhang Lin the source detection technique, Zhang Lin would comprehend the heavenly veins technique, that was 100 times more powerful than the source detection technique. However, after understanding the eyes of the candle sun, Zhang Lin did not need to use the art of heavenly veins, and could directly use the eyes of the candle sun to see through the surface of the stone. See what's inside the stone. It can be said that no matter what is inside these stones, they cannot escape his discernment. You can see how valuable it is at a glance. Seeing so many stones in Fangxi, coupled with the newly comprehended eyes of the candle sun, Zhang Lin couldn't help but look forward to it. These are all rubble. I'll take you inside to take a look. These are all the leftovers. There are basically no good things. As he said that, Xie Qingyao pulled Zhang Lin and headed towards Fang City. All the real good things were inside. However, Zhang Lin shook his head slightly. I'll take a look outside first and try my hand. You go in first. Everyone wants to do this kind of thing, and he is no exception. He planned to start from the outside and work his way inside step by step. I want to see how many good things I can find. Okay, the surrounding stones are also cheap, so you should try the water first. With that said, Xie Qingyao handed Zhang Lin a space ring, which contained many sources. It's enough for Zhang Lin to test the waters here. Of course, she didn't think Zhang Lin could produce anything right from the start. As for the sources in the space ring, to her, they are just water, not at all. A piece of cake. Zhang Lin was also unceremonious and accepted the space ring handed over by Xie Qingyao. There are 1,000,000 kilograms of energy in this space ring, which is enough for him to slowly test the waters in Fangxi. Watching Xie Qingyao enter the depths of Fang City, he also took steps towards the area where the stones were piled up. The stones are piled up like mountains, exuding an ancient smell. Most of these stones are piled up one by one without any order. There are stones the size of a fist, stones the size of a millstone, some the size of a baby, and even stones the size of a human head. There are also stones that are the size of rockeries, and some are even larger than the entire rockery. This kind of stone is extremely rare and easy to attract people to get close to. But no one picked them. There is no other reason for this, because they are too big, and because they are placed in the waste rock area, the chance of finding good things plummets. After all, no one is willing to spend a high price to buy back a piece of rock that is most likely to be real waste. Zhang Lin glanced around, looking for suitable stones. In his eyes, the golden flame was beating, and mysterious lines emerged. Zhang Lin had already activated the eyes of the candle sun. Waste stone, empty, a source as big as a fist. Looking at such a large area of stone around him, Zhang Lin could clearly see what was contained in the stone. However, Zhang Lin was disappointed that there was nothing he was satisfied with. Most of the things inside are waste. Zhang Lin frowned. He really hadn't seen these stones that were truly valuable. No wonder, everything put here is waste. The chances of ordinary people trying to pick up the leaks are really slim. Suddenly, Zhang Lin's eyes focused on a pile of stones 5 or 6 meters away from him. No, to be precise, it was placed in the bottom corner of the pile of stones. It was a stone the size of a head, with dense pits on it, as if it had been cut with a knife. Zhang Lin's eyes were firmly locked on the stone, and his expression became serious. Missed it. Such thoughts arose in Zhang Lin's mind. Through the eyes of the candle sun, he clearly saw a white jade bead inside the broken stone, which was crystal clear and exuded a faint fluorescent light. Although he didn't know what it was, he had a hunch that it was probably an extraordinary treasure. How much does this stone weigh? Taking one step forward, Zhang Lin's figure appeared next to the stone. He asked the female disciple on the side. 5,000 kilograms of origin stone. The female disciple raised her head and glanced at Zhang Lin, then answered. 5,000 catties. It's not that expensive. After getting the price of the stone, Zhang Lin nodded. Just when I paid for the origin stone and just got the stone. Suddenly, a sarcastic voice came from the crowd. Boy, I saw you standing here for so long, I thought you understood. But you just picked a piece of scrap like this. It turns out to be a wax head of a silver gun. Are you interested in it or not? That's ridiculous. Along with these sarcastic words, a man's figure slowly walked towards Zhang Lin. The man was dressed in pink robes and looked handsome. He was shaking a paper fan in his hand. At this moment, he looked at Zhang Lin with a trace of amusement and teasing in the corner of his mouth. Behind him, there were 2 loser monks. They all have the strength of the aperture realm. Judging from his appearance, he probably has a decent background. The surrounding monks also heard what the man said and focused their attention on the stone in Zhang Lin's hand. When they saw the appearance of the stone in Zhang Lin's hand, they all shook their heads, obviously not optimistic about it. Most of the people who can appear in Stone Gambling City are old people gambling on stones. With their many years of experience, they can tell whether there are any stones inside at a glance. The piece in Zhang Lin's hand is of the type that they think cannot produce anything. If it's too big, it's almost all scraps. If it's too small, it probably doesn't have anything good in it. It's gone before it's even opened. The bumpy stone in Zhang Lin's hand was completely standard waste in their eyes. At first glance, there is definitely nothing inside. This made many monks shake their heads secretly, feeling that Zhang Lin must be in trouble this time. Young man, listen to my advice. Nothing can be produced from this stone, so you should change it to another one. A kind-hearted old man in the crowd reminded him kindly. Yes, don't waste the origin stone. Several others hurriedly agreed. They are all old-time stone gamblers, so they naturally know that no matter how they look at this piece of stone, it is a loser. HMPH. Idiot. As the saying goes, if you don't listen to the old man's words, you will suffer the consequences. But I want to see what kind of waste you can get out of this piece of broken stone. Stop being empty, right? The young man said angrily, his eyes scanning the stone in Zhang Lin's hand contemptuously. No, to be precise, he also despised Zhang Lin. There are generally 2 ways to deal with the purchased stone. One is to have the stone broken by a kaikai expert who specializes in stone breaking in the market. The other is to take it back and interpret the stone yourself. When the matter reached this level, Zhang Lin also planned to untie the stone in public, wanting to see how they were slapped in the face. But before that, Zhang Lin looked at Chen O, playing with the stone in his hand, half smiling but not smiling. How about a bet? In such a good scene, wouldn't it be a shame to not make a bet with him? Oh, what bet do you want to make? After hearing Zhang Lin's words, Chen Wu's eyes brightened, his expression was arrogant and full of confidence. For the guy in front of him, he could tell at a glance that this was his first time gambling on stones. The sense of superiority in my heart suddenly exploded. And the stone Zhang Lin chose, based on his many years of experience in stone betting, he could tell at a glance that it was definitely waste. This kind of waste has basically no possibility of harvesting. In his opinion, there is no need to open it at all, because the result has already been determined. As for the bet, this actually gave Chen O some fun. At the same time, he also wanted to teach Zhang Lin a lesson. Let's bet on whether this stone can unlock treasures. Zhang Lin, who knew what was in this stone, was also full of confidence and looked at Chen O with a smile. Ha, since you dare to bet, what does it matter if I accompany you? Hearing this, Chen O sneered, especially when he saw Zhang Lin's face. He felt extremely angry. If you don't drive out, call me Grandpa 3 times. If you meet me again in the future, be respectful, Chen O said directly with a cold snort. He raised his head, his expression full of confidence, as if he was sure that he would win this round. No problem. If you lose, give me 1 million caddies of energy. Without hesitation, Zhang Lin agreed. At the same time, he also set out his own conditions. 1 million kilograms of source is not too much, but it is not too little either. All in all, it's not a small amount. What? 1 million kilograms of source? Hiss. As soon as these words came out, the monks around him suddenly took a breath and exclaimed. 1 million kilograms of source is not a small amount. Even Chen O couldn't help but frown when he heard this condition. 1 million kilograms of yuan was a huge sum of money even for him, a direct descendant of the Chen family. Only, soon, he returned to normal and snorted coldly, okay. But if you lose, you must do as I say. He wasn't worried about losing. After all, he is extremely confident in his own judgment. That's natural. Come here, Jia Shi. After receiving the other party's response, Zhang Lin was also happy, looked at the disciples in Fangxi, and said. Soon, the disciple took Zhang Lin and Chen O to a place in Fang City that specializes in stone excavation. The surrounding area is full of stone-cutting masters, who work on cracking stones. Kaiyuan master is very particular about stone interpretation. He first bowed according to the rules and then started to operate. Crack. The stone the size of a human head was cut in half, and the smooth and neat stone wall was exposed to everyone, but the stone skin on the inside was the same as on the outside. I didn't see anything inside. When people around saw this scene, they couldn't help but shake their heads. Oh, this young man doesn't listen to the old man's words, and he is going to suffer a lot. The 5,000 kilograms of energy were just gone, and nothing came out. Yeah, not even a ball of energy has been released. This piece is a real piece of waste. Tisk tisk, maybe he is the son of a big family. There is no shortage of this source. All the monks present shook their heads and sighed. Boy, how are you? I'm willing to accept defeat and call me Grandpa 3 times. Seeing that nothing came out of the stone, Chen Wu's face became more and more excited. Haha, why are you so anxious? Did I say that I want to deliver the baby? Zhang Lin curled his lips and said calmly. But when he heard what he said, Chen O couldn't help but sneered. Boy, are you trying to default on your debt? I'm telling you, your tricks are of no use here, Chen O said with a cold hum. Having said that, the 2 losers behind him also took a step forward very wisely, blocking Zhang Lin's left and right sides. He looked at Zhang Lin with eager eyes, as if he was just waiting for Zhang Lin to make the slightest move and would take action immediately. Why are you in such a hurry? It's not over yet. Zhang Lin just glanced at the 2 people, ignored them, and just said lightly. Okay, then I want to see what other tricks you can come up with. When Chen O heard Zhang Lin's words, he said hello 3 times in a row and looked at Zhang Lin coldly with his arms crossed. Zhang Lin stepped forward, came to Kaiyuan Shi's side, and made a gesture with his finger on a quarter of the stone on the right side. Sorry, cut it from here. The Kaiyuan master smiled helplessly. It seemed that this young man was unwilling to see the Yellow River. Generally speaking, for a stone the size of a head, as long as there is nothing left in the middle, there will be basically nothing left. But they have already bought the stone, and it doesn't matter how they want to cut it. Immediately, Kaiyuan Master used the knife again, and struck down according to the position marked by Zhonglin. Chang! The stone skin peels off, and a dazzling brilliance blooms from it. The rich essence of heaven and earth surged out instantly, almost turning into substance, impacting the surroundings. Seeing this situation, everyone was in an uproar. It actually, really opened. Amid the shock, someone couldn't help but speak. The stone that was originally not favored by others, now actually produced something. This made everyone present find it unbelievable. You know, most of the stones here are waste materials. It is extremely difficult to produce something of high value. Even in this city, the probability of this happening within a year is low. Pitiful. However, today, they met. Come out, come out. At this moment, Chen O, who had never been optimistic about Zhonglin, was completely dumbfounded. He stood there blankly, his mind buzzing. A piece of abandoned stone that was disliked by everyone turned out to be a treasure. This is the white jade bead. The fluorescent light dissipated, revealing what was inside the stone. It was a fist-sized, crystal clear, pure white jade bead, emitting a soft light. Someone recognized the origin of the jade beads in the stone. And just by being next to the white jade bead, they felt the pure spiritual power. This made everyone's eyes widen in disbelief. It's really a white jade bead. This kid is so lucky, isn't he? I've made a lot of money now. No, I'll try to. I don't believe it, I don't have such good luck. How about it? This white jade bead, shouldn't it be rubbish? Zhonglin smiled with satisfaction after receiving the white jade bead handed over by Master Kaiyuan and feeling the extremely pure spiritual power. Then he raised his head and looked at Chen O, whose face was ashen. At this time, Chen O's face was as gloomy as water. Although he could take out 1 million kilograms of energy, it would still be painful. He gritted his teeth and wished he could eat Zhonglin alive. At this moment, he already felt a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he should not have made a bet with Zhonglin. It's fine now, not to mention the source of losing £1 million, the key is that he has been embarrassed and humiliated. 1 million kilograms of water. Thinking about it, he felt a little painful in his heart. What was even more annoying was that this 1 million kilograms of water was lost to a young boy. Master, how about? Those two henchmen also saw what their young master was thinking at this time. Therefore, after hesitating for a moment, one of the strong men approached Chen O cautiously and asked softly. Shut up and get out. Chen O suddenly turned his head and stared at him fiercely. Immediately, he looked at Zhonglin again. Although he was very reluctant, he finally gritted his teeth, took out a space ring, and threw it towards Zhonglin. Here you go. Chen O snorted coldly. With a livid face, this 1 million kilograms of source can be said to be all his net worth. After throwing away the space ring, Chen O turned around and left. He couldn't stay here for a second. Especially when he felt the gazes from around him, he wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. It was so embarrassing. Thank you for the hospitality, I hope to come again in the future. Seeing Chen O leaving in embarrassment, Zhonglin put away the space ring and said lightly. Hearing this, Chen O's steps suddenly froze and he almost fell over. In the future, again, this is going to bankrupt him. He almost wanted to yell, but after looking at Zhonglin's smiling face, he held it back. White jade beads, not bad. Zhonglin looked at the white jade bead in his hand and nodded with satisfaction. This thing is not of great use to him, but it can be given to Xie Qingyao, and it should be of some use to her. After putting away the white jade beads, Zhonglin walked towards those stones again. Wandering between various platforms, the candle sun eyes in his eyes kept observing every stone, looking for something valuable. However, after watching for a long time, Zhonglin's brows furrowed slightly, obviously a little disappointed. Some stones are not without value, but their value is too low and not worth Zhonglin's disposal. There has never been another treasure that is truly comparable to the white jade bead. Sure enough, the possibility of picking up leaks is still too small. We can only look inside. A little disappointed, Zhonglin could only go inside. The further you go inside, the fewer and fewer stones you see. However, he could clearly see that the value of the stones inside was obviously much higher than the waste outside. There are more or less good things in it. Divine source, heterogeneous source, spiritual fruit, etc. However, compared to the white jade DZI bead Zhonglin encountered before, the quality was much worse. Walking back and forth between the high barriers on various platforms, Zhonglin would stop and observe carefully when he saw good stones. But unfortunately, after visiting so many platforms around and looking at so many stones, there were only two things that moved his heart. One of them was a thick and long silver needle. The silver needle is completely black and glows with a cold light. He didn't know what kind of material it was made of, but in terms of weight, even he felt heavy. And among them, even he felt a strong sense of oppression, which was obviously extraordinary. Later, he can ask Qingyao to show him what this is. The other thing is a red fruit. There is a cherished spiritual fruit called the scarlet blood fruit. Eating it can increase your lifespan by 100 years, even delay aging, keep you young forever, and increase your cultivation speed. Apart from that, the rest of the things were completely useless to him. Did you hear that there are stones from Taiku Stone Mine and they will be sold today? The news was released a few days ago, but it just started today. Although we can't afford it, it doesn't stop us from taking a look. That stone from the Taiku mine. It must be extraordinary. Just as Zhonglin was searching in the pile of stones, suddenly, a burst of noise came from the distance. Immediately afterwards, there was the sound of a group of people running quickly. After hearing this voice, Zhonglin's expression did not change. I just looked at the stones around me, and after thinking for a moment, I decided to go deep into Fang City to see the stones from the Taiku Stone Mine. After all, there weren't many stones around him that he liked. It's better to take a look at the stones in the Taiku Stone Mine. At this moment, more and more monks gathered in the city. The reason is that they are all stones from the Taiku Stone Mine. Among them, there are also some strong people in the Earth Profound Realm and Tianzan Realm. They all come here for the stones from the Taiku Stone Mine. There are also some wealthy family elders in Tianxiang City who have also come to participate. Soon, in Fang City, some disciples appeared and removed some stones from the high platform barriers, replaced with stones mined from ancient stone mines. When the stones from the Taiku Stone Mine appeared, the atmosphere in the gambling house gradually reached a climax. Hundreds of stones of different sizes appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Compared with the stones we usually see, the special features can be seen at a glance. The so-called special features. The stones of the Taiku mine are filled with a distinctive ancient aura of vicissitudes of life, which seems to come from the wilderness. Yes, it is indeed stone from Taiku Stone Mine. This aura is definitely unmistakable. Seeing these stones, an old man with a high status flashed with excitement in his eyes. The stones in the ancient stone mines, even if they are just a fist-sized piece, are enough to be called treasures, and every stone has the potential to yield ancient artifacts. Everyone, I believe you already know that these stones are all mined in the Taiku Stone Mine. You must know that there are many dangers in the Taiku Stone Mine, and the stones in it may even be used to produce ancient artifacts, and even the elixir of immortality is not impossible. Therefore, the price of each stone this time will not be less than 100,000 kilograms. Please consider it as appropriate. At this time, the management staff of Yufeng City stood up and announced. As soon as the words fell, the entire venue fell silent. 100,000 kilograms of source. One stone weighs 100,000 kilograms, which is simply terrifying. However, precisely because of this, everyone became more and more excited and crazy. You know, this is stone from the Taiku mine. As long as a priceless treasure is found, it will be worth it no matter how high the price is. When the administrator finished speaking, the market was completely opened. No matter they are family members or powerful people from outside, they are all entering the venue at this moment. Use your own special methods to select your favorite stones. And Zhonglin was not willing to lag behind. He used the eyes of the candle sun and kept looking at the stones. But who would have thought that when he looked at the stones, a bright golden light shone, making Zhonglin subconsciously close his eyes. The dazzling golden light made his eyes hurt. His expression was a little dazed, and his head was also dizzy. Zhonglin, what's wrong with you? At this time, a familiar voice came from beside him. He reached out and couldn't help but rub his stinging eyes and shook his head. After recovering, Zhonglin opened his eyes, and what came into view was Xie Qingyao's concerned pretty face. I'm fine. After breathing lightly, Zhonglin shook his head. Then his eyes scanned again. This time, he became defensive and did not look directly at the stone. But even so, he still felt the dazzling golden light again. Nice one. Although I don't know what the specific content of the stone is, but based on the golden light that just emitted, I'm afraid it is definitely not an ordinary thing. I found a good stone. Zhonglin sent a message to Xie Qingyao beside him. Hearing this, Xie Qingyao beside him looked at Zhonglin with some disbelief. Are you sure? It's not that she can't afford the price, but that today is Zhonglin's first time betting on stones. Seeing Zhonglin looking so confident, she really didn't want to hurt his self-confidence. Don't worry, trust me. Look, the white jade DZI bead was opened. Give it to you. Facing her unbelieving look, Zhonglin said helplessly. Then he took out the white jade DZI bead he had opened, grabbed her hand and put it in her hand. Hearing this, Xie Qingyao raised her eyes, showing a hint of surprise. White jade G beads are extremely rare, especially such top-quality white jade G beads, which are even rarer. It was really you who opened it. She couldn't believe that the white jade DZI bead in her hand was the first time Zhonglin had opened it by betting on stones. However, the cold touch in her hand told her all the time that it was all true. Looking at her surprised look, Zhonglin smiled lightly, and then said, I said it all, believe me. Tell me, which stone do you like? When Zhonglin said that he had given this white jade DZI bead to her, she took it away without being polite. Then he asked Shang Zhonglin to see which stone he was going to pick. I think this piece is pretty good. Zhonglin pointed at one of the dark brown stones and said with a smile. The whole body is dark brown, the surface is rough, and there is no beauty at all, and even a little mottled can be seen vaguely. This is Yanshan stone. After a few glances, Xie Qingyao recognized it immediately. The shape of rock mountain stone is a triangular pyramid, which is the most common and difficult to identify stone. Are you sure? Still looking at Zhonglin a little worried, Xie Qingyao reminded again, it's not easy to open rocks and rocks. Yes, young man, although this Yanshan stone was also obtained from the Taiku stone mine, the possibility of mining something from the Yanshan stone is still very small. Someone on the side also tried to persuade him. Okay, that's it. Seeing Zhonglin's determination, Xie Qingyao no longer hesitated. After asking about the price, she decisively bought it. At the same time, there were people around who used their own methods to select satisfactory stones. Watch it. Looking at the stone in front of him, Zhonglin's eyes were solemn. After taking a deep breath, spiritual power burst out from his hand. He wanted to break the stone on the spot. The huge stone kept spinning in Zhonglin's hands. Every time it rotates, a stone skin falls off. Su su su. Sieve. Stone skins kept falling, and the surrounding monks also focused their attention on Zhonglin and the stone. It's him. He was the one who used a piece of scrap material to create the white jade G bead just now. At this time, an exclamation suddenly came from the crowd of onlookers. White jade G bead. It must be just luck, right? Not necessarily. I remember he opened 3 stones, and each one yielded treasures. Hearing the words around him, Xie Qingyao's expression moved slightly, and there was a hint of expectation on his originally calm face. After counting interest, as the stone skin continued to fall, a bright golden light appeared faintly in the cracks of the stone. At this time, they didn't speak again. They all held their breath and stared at the scene in front of them nervously. Wow! Finally, with a crisp sound, the stone exploded violently. A dazzling golden light spurted out from inside. In an instant, everyone was stunned. That brilliant golden light was like a scorching sun, illuminating all directions and making people dazzling. The golden light was so bright that it stung the eyeballs, causing people around them to quickly close their eyes and take a few steps back involuntarily. This is, when the golden light gradually disappeared, everyone slowly opened their eyes. When they saw the scene in front of them clearly, they suddenly showed shocked expressions. I saw that the huge stone had disappeared at this moment, replaced by a golden halberd. The golden halberd is completely transparent and glows with a faint golden light. The lines on it are densely covered, as if mercury is flowing, and it looks very magnificent. And that halberd was more than 2 meters high, with a sharp blade and a golden glow that made people shudder. Just being there, they felt a sting from their souls. What a terrifying halberd! A monk trembled. The king's soldiers. No, it's the quasi-saint soldier. Another old man thought for a moment and suddenly screamed. Quasi-holy soldier. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar immediately. Everyone present, except Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao, all stared in disbelief. Quasi-holy soldier. It was actually driven out by a piece of stone. Ha ha ha, I really found a treasure. This quasi-sacred soldier belongs to me. Baby touching. In the darkness, a person suddenly took action and attacked the quasi-saint soldier, trying to snatch the quasi-saint soldier. Presumptuous. This is Qingyan Holy Land, how can we allow you to be so presumptuous? Two voices suddenly resounded, and then, there was a wave of fluctuation in the air, and in an instant, 2 waves of pressure descended. Boom! In an instant, the air exploded. The powerful pressure enveloped everyone, making everyone feel shaken. Even the person who took action was slightly startled. However, he did not stop moving, but continued to rush towards the halberd. However, at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Aha! A black shadow flickered, and a figure quickly appeared in front of everyone, blocking the opponent's attack. Boom! A violent collision occurred, and the 2 figures each took a few steps back. What? Are you taking action on the territory of my Qingyan Holy Land? A cold tone sounded, and an old man stood in front of everyone with an indifferent expression, looking at the person who made the move. Although this old man looks very old, with a stooped body and wrinkles on his face, his eyes are bright and full of energy. It makes people dare not have the slightest bit of Xiao Chao. It's him, Mu Shang Zhenren. Staring at the old man, someone exclaimed, with a strong sense of fear in his tone. Master Mu Shang, the guardian elder of Qingyan Holy Land, possesses the strength at the peak level of Tianquan. It is said that 20 years ago, he killed a monster at the peak of Tianquan, and his strength was infinitely close to the realm of a king. How presumptuous! Master Mu Shang glanced at the predator and shouted angrily. Grabbing things on their Qingyan Holy Land territory, especially when he is still here, grabbing things in front of him. Isn't this a slap in the face? The aura of Tianquan Peak suddenly burst out from the body of Master Mu Shang, like a storm, sweeping in all directions. At this moment, the predator's expression changed wildly. This is different from the news he got. Mu Shang, didn't you leave Tianxiang City? Why are you still here? Why do predators dare to take action? It wasn't because they got the news that Master Mu Shang had left Tianxiang City 2 days ago. In this city of Beishifeng, the only strongest person left is a monk who is in the early stage of Tianquan. If he knew that Master Mu Shang was still in this city, how could he dare to take action? Secretly, those who had planned to take action just now also restrained themselves after seeing Master Mu Shang take action. Hiding in the dark, no longer daring to make any small moves. Just because Master Mu Shang is here, as long as he is here, no one dares to take action here. HMPH, you thieves, if we don't let the news out, how can you come here? As he said that, Elder Mu Shang took a step forward and glanced at the crowd with his cold eyes. All the monks caught by the wooden elephant's gaze lowered their heads and did not dare to look at him. Among the crowd, some monks lowered their heads, their eyes flickered, and their steps slowly retreated. Now that you're here, don't leave. Elder Mu Shang looked around, waving his old arms lightly, and the majestic and vast spiritual power surged. In an instant, several figures flew out from the crowd and struck into the distance. When the people around them looked at the people flying out, their expressions changed. Apparently they understood something, and they retreated quietly, keeping a distance from them, for fear of getting burned. Especially the plunderer looked extremely ugly looking at his captured accomplices. He didn't expect that what he had planned for so long would fall short at this moment. He hated himself for not confirming the authenticity of the information. Elder Mu Shang, since these people are robbing my holy land, don't let them go. At this time, Xie Qingyao, who had recovered her appearance, also walked out and looked at them coldly. How dare you take action here? Do you really think they are vegetarians in Qingyan Holy Land? What's more, these people's actions violated her taboos. It's not good to grab someone's things, but I grabbed them first. As a saint of Qingyan Holy Land, she will never tolerate others provoking the dignity of the Holy Land. Anyone who provokes Qingyan Holy Land will be killed without mercy. Yes, Your Highness the Saint. Xie Qingyao walked out slowly, and her aura changed accordingly. If she was just like an ordinary person, then at this moment, she was more like a fairy who was high above everyone else. As the saint of Qingyan Holy Land, she often followed the Saint Lord Qinglu. She naturally had a touch of the temperament of a superior. Mu Shang Zhenren also looked at the saint who appeared here with a surprised look. He knew that the saint had come to Tianxiang City. He naturally noticed the big commotion before, but he didn't expect that the saint would come here. And looking at this look, the things these people wanted to rob seemed to be related to the saint. This group of people are really looking for death. Elder Mu Zhang's face also became gloomy, and he looked at Xie Qingyao. Your Highness the Saint, this matter, I will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. After that, Elder Mu Shang looked at the surrounding plunderers with the eyes of a dead person, and the depths of his eyes were filled with murderous intent. The elders of the aristocratic families, the casual cultivators and others who were not concerned about this matter all looked at Xie Qingyao with awe. This is Her Highness the Saint. The saint who came to Tianxiang City not long ago. The real saint of Qingyan Holy Land, the disciple of the saint of Qingyan. In the territory of Qingyan Holy Land, it is really bold to rob the things of the saint of Qingyan. How is it? Hearing what Elder Mu Shang said, Xie Qingyao nodded and looked at the plunderers with cold eyes. Then he looked at Zhang Lin and asked with a normal expression. It's okay, but this thing is a bit tricky. Zhang Lin shook his head. For him, this situation is nothing. After all, this is the territory of Qingyan Holy Land, why should we be afraid of a group of scoundrels? But the most tricky thing is the quasi-saint soldier in front of us. The golden halberd, dazzling and dazzling, exudes a heart-pounding breath fluctuation. It is suspended there, standing still. Even if you get within 3 meters of it, you will feel a strong sense of oppression, which will spread from it and make you feel palpitating. Therefore, it has become a difficult problem to take it away. The holy weapon has spirits. If you want to take it away, you may need its approval. Xie Qingyao looked at the golden halberd and said with a slight frown. Approval. Frowning, Zhang Lin stretched out his hand and slowly grabbed the golden halberd. As soon as he approached, he felt a tingling sensation in his hand. That kind of pain was like a needle piercing the bone, penetrating into the soul. I don't believe it. Enduring the severe pain, Zhang Lin suddenly exerted force and grasped the golden halberd fiercely. Scales appeared faintly on his arm. Hiss. The tearing pain instantly spread throughout his body, causing Zhang Lin to take a breath of cold air, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. The surface of the halberd was shining, as if it had spirits. On the outside of the halberd, there are golden runes wandering, as if they are living things, and they may break free at any time. Roar. Inside, it seems that a dragon roar resounded through the sky, and the golden halberd suddenly moved. I saw it struggling frantically in Zhang Lin's palm, trying to escape from Zhang Lin's control. The huge force made Zhang Lin's face change and kept retreating. Hold it steady, Zhang Lin shouted angrily. The scales on his arm became clearer. As he shouted angrily, a faint dragon power was released, covering the golden halberd. At the same time, the flame of the candle sun in the body also surged, wrapping the golden halberd. Then, such a suppression not only failed to suppress the golden halberd, but made it struggle even more. As the Candle Sun Sky Fire Sutra was running, Zhang Lin's breath became stronger and stronger, and the momentum of the whole person was rising rapidly. Suddenly, the golden halberd burst out with golden light. Wherever the golden light shines, the monks all feel the trembling from the soul. Those with weak cultivation bases collapsed to the ground, trembling. Even those with strong cultivation bases were numb all over, pale, and beads of sweat the size of beans on their foreheads kept sliding down. Not to mention Zhang Lin, who was in close contact. His soul trembled, as if thousands of knives were cutting his soul. His face became ferocious, and veins were exposed on his forehead. His true body vaguely appeared behind him. The huge phantom, like a mountain, exuded a monstrous aura. At this time, even Xie Qingyao and the wooden elephant elder were staring at Zhang Lin closely. Their expressions were solemn, especially Xie Qingyao, who looked at Zhang Lin with some worry in his eyes. You know, Zhang Lin at this moment was only at the level of Dixuan, and this golden halberd was a quasi-saint weapon. It has never been heard of that Dixuan wanted to subdue a quasi-saint weapon since ancient times. Boom! The golden halberd was struggling constantly, and Zhang Lin's hand holding the halberd gradually weakened. He was almost able to break free. And Zhang Lin was getting weaker and weaker, his face was as pale as paper. The impact from the soul tortured his mind all the time. No, if he continues like this, his soul will definitely not be able to hold on. Looking at the shaky Zhang Lin, Xie Qingyao frowned. The wooden elephant elder was also secretly shocked when he saw Zhang Lin, who had been able to hold on until now. Being able to persist in the earth profound realm until now is already very remarkable. He can be called a genius-level person. Just when the two of them felt that Zhang Lin could no longer hold on, something strange happened. The tingling sensation reaches deep into the soul and stings the physical soul. A feeling of fatigue sets in. However, a warm current suddenly came from his dantian in his body, driving away his fatigue. This warm current quickly integrated into his body and began to wreak havoc in his body. A burning feeling suddenly spread throughout his limbs and bones. Zhang Lin only felt that the power in his body seemed to turn into a burning flame at this moment, raging and burning crazily in his body. Looking inside, Zhang Lin suddenly discovered that a drop of blood had appeared in his body. A drop of golden blood. Threads of golden blood flowed out from this drop of blood. Integrated into the blood within the body, it began to grow slowly. What is this? Zhang Lin was a little confused. He had never found this drop of blood before. I don't know when I got this drop of blood. The golden blood seemed to contain infinite vitality, constantly expanding and growing in his body. Behind the scenes, the python's silhouette suddenly changed, under everyone's gaze. The two protrusions on the top of the head suddenly grew horns. On those two sharp horns, there were dazzling golden runes shining in the sunlight, emitting a dazzling light. The python has two horns. This change shocked Zhang Lin's heart and his pupils suddenly shrank. He felt that his blood was transforming, and there seemed to be some kind of wonderful change. Moreover, there is a familiar feeling surging in the body. It seemed to be summoning something. My bloodline is changing. Zhang Lin was very surprised. What is that drop of blood? Although he had some doubts in his heart, what surprised him even more was that the halberd that was struggling in his hand stopped struggling at some point. It was even trembling slightly, and a faint whisper came from it. This scene shocked Zhang Lin. No way, he was a little unbelievable. The halberd's struggle just now was like a wild horse running wild, and it almost broke free several times. But now, it's actually quiet. This made Zhang Lin a little suspicious. Was he hallucinating? Not only Zhang Lin, but also Xie Qingyao and others next to him were stunned by the scene in front of them. How could this happen? Xie Qingyao's beautiful eyes widened and she couldn't believe what she saw. A quasi-sacred weapon is trembling. How can this be? They couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Especially Elder Mu Shang, he couldn't believe the scene in front of him. Has this world changed? Elder Mu Shang moved his lips slightly and murmured. The next moment, the golden halberd in Zhang Lin's hand turned into a stream of light and rushed into his body. Before Zhang Lin could react, the golden halberd entered his body. After he reacted, he quickly looked inward and looked into his body. Only saw. The golden halberd appeared in his dantian, and above it, the drop of golden blood was suspended. It's like suppressing it. The golden blood was not offensive in any way, it just floated in the air, motionless. The golden blood is filled with a trace of light golden lines. If you look carefully, you will find that there seems to be a dragon shadow emerging, looming. Zhang Lin felt that this golden blood contained terrifying power. Ding, you have refined a trace of the essence and blood of the heavenly dragon, and your bloodline has been transformed, evolving into blood dragon. When the strands of dragon essence and blood were completely integrated into Zhang Lin's blood, Zhang Lin's eyes suddenly opened, and his pupils emitted a breathtaking light. The body exudes a faint dragon power. Moreover, his strength has also broken through to the 5th level of the earth profound realm. Made a lot of progress. However, Zhang Lin quickly restrained his aura. Heavenly dragon essence and blood. When did I have this thing in my body? Zhang Lin was a little confused when he heard the system prompt. He never remembered that he had such a drop of dragon blood in his body. If there was, then he should have developed a long time ago, but for such a long time, he didn't realize it at all. Perhaps, if there was no golden dragon halberd today, he might not even be aware of the existence of this drop of dragon blood. Strange, what's going on with this drop of dragon essence and blood? Zhong Lin was puzzled. I don't understand where the heavenly dragon essence and blood in my body comes from. Are you okay? While Zhong Lin was stunned, Xie Qingyao came over. Coming to his side, looking at him with concern, he asked. It's okay. Besides, my current condition is better than ever. Zhong Lin stretched out his arms and felt the situation inside his body. He couldn't help but grin. Inexplicably, there was a drop of heavenly dragon's essence and blood in his body, which not only made a breakthrough in his cultivation but also brought his bloodline one step closer. The blood dragon can also be regarded as an earth dragon species, and is out of the category of snake species. That's good. Hearing Zhong Lin's words, Xie Qingyao breathed a sigh of relief. She was also worried about what was happening to Zhong Lin's health. But it seems that this worry is unnecessary. Elder Mushang, this is how it will be in this city today. Suddenly, Xie Qingyao turned her head and said to Elder Mushang not far away. So many things have happened in such a short period of time, and they still need to be dealt with. Elder Mushang also knew the stakes of quickly getting rid of those plunderers. Deng even nodded to show that he understood what Xie Qingyao meant. Then, he led the crowd and began to dismiss everyone in Fang City. This is how today's market ended. Some aristocratic elders and others also looked in a hurry when they left. I wanted to tell my family what happened today as soon as possible. With Elder Mushang taking action, there were no idlers in the city soon. On the field, only Zhong Lin, Xie Qingyao and the Elder Mushang were left. Sure enough, heroes have always been born out of young men since ancient times. Elder Mushang glanced at Zhong Lin and admired sincerely. This sentence does not sound like a compliment, because what he said is indeed the truth. Although he didn't know what method Zhong Lin used to subdue the golden dragon halberd, with the strength of the earth profound realm, he would never be able to subdue a quasi-sacred weapon. Elder Mushang is so complimentary. Zhong Lin shook his head and said modestly. But, can we pick some of these stones and unpack them? Suddenly, Zhong Lin looked at Elder Mushang and asked. He looked at the stones and found many valuable things. Some things he needs, and some things are of great use to Xie Qingyao. Elder Mushang was startled, then smiled and nodded. After all, this is the territory of Qingyan Holy Land, and everything belongs to Qingyan Holy Land. If their saint wants to get something here, there will naturally be no problem. Xie Qingyao had nothing to say about Zhong Lin's words. Since he said that, of course he has a reason. Just because he was able to extract good things from the stones every time, she believed in Zhong Lin. The probability of finding a treasure is much higher than hers. Moreover, since Zhong Lin asked to pick some stones, he obviously found some good things in them. Of course, even if nothing good comes out, she won't say anything. After receiving Elder Mushang's permission, Zhong Lin turned around and walked towards the ancient stones. Of the hundreds of ancient stones, the ones he really valued were only 6. The first piece Zhong Lin chose was somewhat beyond the expectations of Xie Qingyao and Elder Mushang. It was a piece of ancient stone as big as a fist. Different from the pits of normal stone, it looked slightly rounded. Elder Mushang looked at the stone selected by Zhong Lin, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. He had an impression of this ancient stone. This stone was once determined to be a piece of waste by the source masters in Fang City, but now Zhong Lin actually picked it out. Can something really be made from this stone? Elder Mushang secretly asked. The fist-sized stone was light and weightless in Zhong Lin's hands. The stone skin on the surface slowly peeled off under the catalysis of Zhong Lin's spiritual power. Zhong Lin concentrated on activating his spiritual power and controlled the stone skin to slowly peel off. Xie Qingyao and Elder Mushang stood there, staring at Zhong Lin's movements with interest, their eyes full of anticipation. At this moment, in their hearts, they all hoped that Zhong Lin could really create something from this ancient stone. Gradually, the thick stone skin peels off, revealing the green inside. Under the gazes of Xie Qingyao and Elder Mushang, the green color became brighter and brighter. Until finally, the stone skin completely fell off, revealing the green fruit inside. It is a green fruit. It is completely transparent, like emerald, and exudes a delicate fragrance. Moreover, this green fruit exudes rich vitality. Life fruit. The moment he saw the green fruit, Elder Mushong showed a look of surprise on his face. Yes, it's the fruit of life. Xie Qingyao's face also showed a look of surprise. Life fruit, this thing is a rare alchemy material. Although she doesn't know how to make alchemy, she has seen this thing before. The main ingredient of the longevity pill is the life fruit. However, the life fruit is extremely difficult to obtain. Even in Qingyan Holy Land, they are rarely seen. It can be said that the fruit of life is something that can be encountered but not sought. Unexpectedly, Zhong Lin actually opened a life fruit directly. Not bad. Looking at the life fruit in his hand, he just took a gentle sniff of the life breath it exuded. Zhong Lin felt a breath of vitality flowing throughout his body, nourishing his body and internal organs. He was happy with the result. Putting away the life fruit, Zhong Lin walked towards the other side. Over there is another large stone area. Each piece is as tall as a person. Xie Qingyao and Elder Mushong followed closely behind Zhong Lin. Wherever Zhong Lin went, Xie Qingyao and Elder Mushong followed. The stones here are not small, and Zhong Lin's eyes kept scanning inside. But he always has only one goal. Walk straight towards the location of the largest stone. The stone, which is about 2 feet long, is particularly conspicuous in the surroundings. And this piece. Looking at the huge stone, Zhong Lin pointed over there and said. Looking at this huge stone, Elder Mushong suddenly felt in his heart that maybe this stone could produce something good. In fact, whatever Zhong Lin picks out next will be nice one. In fact, this is indeed the case. Next 5 stones. Every piece of it was sold by Zhong Lin as something priceless. The second piece, glazed heavenly gold. The third piece is a divine source the size of a millstone. The fourth piece, a one-time life-saving puppet. The fifth piece is the sage's method, Tian Kui Bu. The sixth piece, 3 enlightenment tea leaves. Stone after stone was dug out by Zhong Lin. It was also the first time that Elder Mushong discovered that there were so many good things in their market. Each one is priceless and can be called a priceless treasure. Suddenly, Elder Mushong felt a little regretful. But the matter has come to this, and it is too late to regret it. Moreover, he had no way to change things and could only continue to follow Zhong Lin. Just these 6 yuan. There are some good things in Fang City, but the value is not as good as these. After untying his 6 favorite stones, Zhong Lin did not continue. Although there are some good things in other stones in the city, they are far behind compared to these 6 pieces. Elder Mushong nodded and breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, secretly thinking that it was finally over. Especially thinking about those 6 treasures made him feel even more heartbroken. Those are priceless treasures. It's amazing. There is no leakage. They are all good things. Elder Mushong also sighed from the bottom of his heart. Little friend Zhong Lin, congratulations. You kid, you are really amazing. He has never seen anyone betting on stones with such accuracy. Junior, it's just a fluke. Zhong Lin smiled modestly. Xie Qingyao was beside him, feeling a little emotional in his heart. She underestimated Zhong Lin. It was obviously his first time to gamble on stones. Although he didn't know what methods Zhong Lin used, it was really unbelievable that he could achieve such a huge gain. This batch of ancient stones is very valuable. Being able to produce so many good things, this batch of ancient stones is indeed very valuable. Xie Qingyao's eyes sparkled. Yes. Elder Mushong nodded slightly and said, it's beyond our expectations. By the way, I heard Granny Jin say that the saint came to Tianxiang City for the teleportation array. Suddenly, Elder Mushong asked. Xie Qingyao was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Yes, I plan to use the teleportation array to send us to the deserted border city. Desolate city, that's what it is. But the teleportation array won't be opened until tomorrow, so I'd like to ask the saint to wait one night. Of course, if the saint is in a hurry, I will start the teleportation formation now. When he heard that the saint was going to the deserted city, Elder Mushong immediately understood what was going on and hurriedly spoke. The saint came from Wangcheng, and he still knew about it. No, let's do it tomorrow. Xie Qingyao shook her head slightly. It was just one night and she was not in a hurry. Moreover, she still had something she wanted to ask Zhang Lin. Good. Elder Mu Shang nodded, then turned and left. Night falls and the sky is filled with stars. The entire celestial city was also shrouded in a hazy mist. Don't you have anything to say? Turning her head slightly, Xie Qingyao looked at Zhang Lin, who had transformed into his true form again, with a hint of splendor in his beautiful eyes. She also discovered that whenever the two of them were alone, Zhang Lin particularly liked to transform into his true form and stay on her shoulders and against her neck. Although she didn't really care, she always felt that Zhang Lin was a little weird. What's there to say? It's just good luck. Zhang Lin, who was clinging to her neck, naturally knew what she was referring to. However, he just turned over and said lightly. At this time, Zhang Lin's appearance was a little different from before. A pair of long horns sprouted from the head, and there were two protrusions on each side of the abdomen. Inside, something seemed to be gestating. At this time, Zhang Lin's body shape was extremely close to that of a dragon. It seemed that if he could go one step further, he would be able to become a real dragon. Are you really not planning to tell me? If that's the case, then don't. What? Zhang Lin stood up and looked at her with doubtful eyes. This woman is half talking. What does this mean? He looked at Xie Qingyao doubtfully. Also, why is this woman's face turning red? Especially when he saw Xie Qingyao's face gradually turning red, this made him even more confused. Halfway through his words, not only did he stop talking, but his face turned red. Xie Qingyao looked at Zhang Lin motionlessly with her beautiful eyes. She didn't know what she was thinking in her mind, and her face gradually turned red. His breathing gradually became rapid, and his chest rose and fell violently, as if a fire was burning. What's going on with you, woman? At this time, Xie Qingyao looked more and more strange. Inexplicably, her face turned red and her breathing became rapid. Even the sound of the heartbeat was extremely clear. Seeing Xie Qingyao's strange look, Zhang Lin hurriedly transformed into a human form and stood beside her. He waved his hand in front of her eyes. Are you okay? Why are you blushing? Oh, nothing. Xie Qingyao suddenly woke up from her thoughts, and her pretty face turned red. The heart beats harder. His expression became panicked, his eyes flickered, and he seemed a little guilty. Nothing. Zhang Lin looked unconvinced. It's really nothing. If it's nothing, why are you blushing? Xie Qingyao's blush really made Zhang Lin confused. Inexplicable. Zhang Lin curled his lips and stopped asking. She was indeed a little strange tonight. It turned into its true form and returned to her shoulders under Xie Qingyao's complicated gaze. Next to her neck, a chill came from Zhang Lin's body. The cold touch and warm breath made Xie Qingyao's heart beat a little faster, almost as if it was about to jump out. Can you, in the future? Looking at Zhang Lin, who had closed his eyes and was taking a nap, Xie Qingyao suddenly spoke. But when she was halfway through speaking, she stopped again. The words were on her lips, but she just couldn't say them. Can it be anything? After Xie Qingyao finished speaking, Zhang Lin slowly opened his eyes. Nothing. Why? Her eyes were a little evasive, not daring to look at Zhang Lin. She turned her head and sighed softly. Fall silent. Zhang Lin looked at the silent Xie Qingyao, with a smile in his eyes. Then he moved his body and changed into a more comfortable position. But when he acted, he didn't know whether it was intentional or not, but he rubbed Xie Qingyao's neck a few times. A wave of fluctuation spread from the universe. The surrounding stars also trembled. When the fluctuation spread to this star field, the entire star field shook. Eventually it turns into annihilated dust and dissipates in the universe. The stars flicker, the star field collapses, and the planet is shattered. Deep in the universe, there is a faint flicker of light. Move. Wherever it passed, countless stars and meteorites were turned into ashes. King, grab it. Next day, Your Highness the Saint, this is the teleportation array of Tianxiang City. Early on, Elder Mushang brought Xie Qingyao and Zhang Lin to the teleportation array in Tianxiang City. Introduced to them, the teleportation array of Tianxiang City is located in the very center of Tianxiang City. The surrounding sky is filled with runes intertwined together to form a huge formation. There are countless lines carved on the ground. Runes one by one flow among the lines. The layers of formations were shining brightly in the void, illuminating the surroundings with incomparable brightness. Circles of ripples spread, as if water was flowing through it. Waves of fluctuations also rippled out from the teleportation array. The 8 directions of the teleportation array are all guarded by guards from Tianxiang City. Each of these guards is very strong. They are all in Tianxiang City and are responsible for guarding the teleportation array. Xie Qingyao glanced at the teleportation array and stepped directly into it. Through the teleportation array, they can reach the deserted city in just a few moments. Wangcheng, her hometown. The Xie family is also a force in Wangcheng. Because of Xie Qingyao's existence, among the 3 major forces in Wangcheng, the Xie family is at the top. It can even hold down the city lord's palace in the deserted city. When we get to the family, please pay attention to me. In the teleportation array, Xie Qingyao was still a little worried and warned Zhang Lin. Don't worry, you don't know what I am like. Okay. Hearing that Xie Qingyao was still a little worried about him, Zhang Lin also rolled his eyes at her. He doesn't have time to care about that much now. He has more important things to do. After saying that, he closed his eyes again, hid them in her neck and hair, and ignored Xie Qingyao. He looked inside his body and concentrated on refining the golden dragon halberd in his body. Under the suppression of the dragon's essence and blood, the golden dragon halberd showed no resistance to Zhang Lin's refining efforts and allowed him to refining it. Once the golden dragon halberd resists, the mysterious drop of dragon essence and blood will exude a terrifying aura and suppress it. Moreover, after the golden dragon halberd incident, a drop of blood essence would melt into Zhang Lin's body from time to time. Zhang Lin's body is improving every moment. This drop of blood essence is at least a drop of blood essence of a saint. Zhang Lin secretly guessed. Moreover, if he can completely refine it, I am afraid that reaching the peak level of Tianquan will not be a problem. The golden dragon halberd, a quasi-sacred weapon, will be one of my trump cards in the future. Once the golden dragon halberd is refined, even though he cannot exert the full power of the golden dragon halberd, it is still incredibly powerful. You must know that Xie Qingyao was only at the 8th level of Tianquan before, relying on the king's weapon, the Tianyu ruler. 2 moves were enough to defeat a peak Tianquan person. This shows how important it is to have a powerful magic weapon. What's more, the golden dragon halberd is a quasi-sacred weapon, its power is so terrifying that it is unimaginable. Just when Zhang Lin was hiding behind Xie Qingyao's neck, the teleportation array was activated. Buzz. Immediately, a huge space fluctuation spread out from the teleportation array. A mask of light enveloped Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao. Then, the 2 of them were enveloped in a light shield. The next second, they disappeared from where they were. Deserted city, Xie family, backyard, Holy Master Cheng, this is the wine you want. This wine is definitely the best wine in our deserted city. And this roast chicken is also made by the best chef in our deserted city. Try it. There is also this pastry, you can try it too. If the reception is not good in any way, please bear with me and be patient with me. In the backyard, an old man is holding a roast chicken in his left hand and a jar of wine in his right hand. His mouth opened and closed, and oil dripped from the corners of his mouth, constantly spilling out. Quasi-saint soldier, you are so lucky. After taking a bite of the roast chicken in his hand and pouring the wine into his mouth, Qinglu couldn't help but sigh. This time, Zhang Lin was really lucky. He even ran into such a good opportunity. Zhang Lin and Xie Qingyao received news about a quasi-holy weapon. While they were still in Tianxiang City, someone passed the news over. But that kid is so good at lying. He even tricked me into not being able to transform. Qinglu curled his lips and said after wiping away the remaining oil stains on his face. Sitting there indifferently, eating roast chicken. He doesn't care about image issues either. In the Holy Land, he still needs to maintain his image as the Holy Lord, and there are some restrictions on everything he does. Now, no one can control him outside the Holy Land. The feeling of freedom is really wonderful. Aside, the head of the Xie family and Xie Qingyao's father, Xie Tianmu, was also sitting in front of the table. He accompanied Qinglu with a smile on his face. Holy Master Cheng, when will my little girl come back? Xie Tianmu couldn't help but ask as he looked at Qinglu eating and drinking. When Holy Master Qing came to Xia's house yesterday and told him that his daughter Xie Qingyao would be back in 2 days, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep. After all, it had been 6 years since the last time his daughter came home. The father and daughter have not seen each other for a long time. Xie Tianmu has always been thinking about Xie Qingyao. After all, she is his precious daughter, and he is his father, so how can he not miss her? Qinglu swallowed the last piece of chicken, wiped the corners of his mouth, looked into the distance with his eyes, and said softly, she should be back soon. There is a teleportation array from Tianxiang City to Wangcheng. If nothing unexpected happens, she should return to Wangcheng today. Ha ha ha, that's the best. Hearing this, Xie Qingyao's father, Xie Tianmu, also laughed heartily and said, by the way, do the people in the Zhou family know that Qingyao girl is back? Qinglu asked casually while facing Xie Tianmu, grabbing a piece of pastry and tasting it. Zhou family. Xie Tianmu was stunned, then nodded. The Zhou family should know, and they should even understand the purpose of Qingyao's return this time. After saying that, Xie Tianmu also fell silent. Xie Qingyao came back to break off her engagement with the Zhou family. After so many years, although the relationship between the Xie family and the Zhou family has faded, they still maintain a certain degree of contact. Moreover, the engagement between Qingyao and Zhou Tian was settled by the older generation, and now that they were going to break off the engagement, he felt a little guilty. Why? The more he thought about it, the more irritated he became. Xie Tianmu sighed and shook his head. Don't think so much. Qingyao will eventually follow the path of the emperor in this life. This kind of marriage will only be a kind of bondage for her, which will be lifted sooner or later. Qinglu comforted her. He has high expectations for Xie Qingyao. In this life, taking the emperor's path and ascending to the throne is what she should do. Yes, I understand Qingyao. Xie Tianmu nodded. Look, this is coming. Suddenly, Qinglu raised his head and looked towards the center of the deserted city. That's the direction of Wangcheng's teleportation array. Just now, Xie Qingyao's breath came from the teleportation array. Others can't feel it, but people like him whose strength has reached the Holy Lord level can clearly feel it. Heaven and earth, nowhere to hide. Came back, comma. It's been 6 years. I haven't been back for 6 years. Not much has changed. Returning to the deserted city, Xie Qingyao stopped in the air and looked at the familiar city below her feet. A flash of memory came to mind. 6 years, exactly 6 years. Since returning 6 years ago, Xie Qingyao has never gone home again. She looked into the distance, where she had the most profound memory. They were 2 hills, but the middle ones were smooth and neat, as if they were cut in the middle by something. Zhonglin, Xie Qingyao murmured to himself. Well, what's wrong? Zhonglin, who was hiding behind her neck, heard Xie Qingyao's call and asked in confusion. Nothing. Shaking his head, Xie Qingyao revealed a smile. Following Xie Qingyao's gaze, Zhonglin also saw the 2 hills she was looking at. Vaguely, he felt that this scene was somewhat familiar in his mind. It's so familiar, but I can't remember it. Looking at the 2 hills in front of him, Zhonglin frowned and thought hard. It feels familiar, but I can't remember anything. Let's go. Xie Qingyao didn't know what Zhonglin was thinking, so she said lightly and flew away towards the Xie family. Her appearance did not alarm anyone in the Xie family. Regarding Xie Qingyao's return, the Xie family only knew some news, but they did not know when she would return. As soon as she entered the Xie family's clan, Xie Qingyao felt her father's aura and immediately sped over. Sure enough, Xie Qingyao instantly saw her father in the backyard, and the master who had been missing for 3 days. However, Qinglu's appearance now is indeed a bit sloppy. This old man is actually here. Zhonglin poked his head out and instantly saw Qinglu eating roast chicken pastries. Father, Qingyao. After entering the backyard, Xie Qingyao looked at her father Xie Tianmu and shouted. Xie Tianmu stood up even more excitedly, looking at his daughter with a look of joy on his face. The news that Xie Qingyao returned home made him wipe away the depression and sadness he had been feeling for 6 years, and a bright smile appeared on his face. Old man, what do you mean you're here? You just left us. When father and daughter met, Zhonglin got off her body very wisely and came to Qinglu's side. Seeing Qinglu's appearance, he also started to complain. Unreliable old man, he eats and drinks well here and enjoys life. Leave the two of them there and live happily here. HMPH. What do you know? Qing Lu snorted coldly, his face reddening slightly, but he didn't refute anything. I heard that you made a quasi-holy weapon. Under Zhang Lin's contemptuous gaze, Qing Lu changed the subject. Besides, didn't you lie to both of us? You can obviously change your form, but you still lied to us. Qing Lu looked at Zhang Lin as if you were not the same yet. Quasi-saint soldier, you are actually able to suppress it. Yes, it can indeed be suppressed. Qing Lu thought about Zhang Lin's situation and nodded secretly, while feeling some inexplicable emotions in his heart. Thinking of Zhang Lin's previous situation, it was more than enough to suppress the quasi-sacred soldiers. Keep a low profile. This has always been the code of conduct for their Qingyan Holy Land. Xie Qingyao, Zhang Lin and the others have just returned to Xia's house. They didn't stay long before heading towards the Zhou family. It didn't even alarm anyone in the Xie family. And with Qinglu's presence, it only took them a few breaths to get to Zhou's house. The Zhou family at this time. The annual cultivation test is being held. The patriarch, elders, and all the disciples of the Zhou family were all present. The annual practice test is also a major event in their Zhou family, and everyone who can come is present. On the martial arts field. On the sky stone tablet dedicated to testing cultivation, 5 large characters lighted up. 9th level of body forging realm. In front of the sky stone tablet, a young man with black hair stood there with a plain expression. Just looking at the words, 9th level of body training, the corners of his mouth still twitched. Although I knew that my realm had fallen again and I was mentally prepared, looking at this scene, I still felt a little sad. It's been so many years, when will it be the end? Do you really want me to become an ordinary person before I stop? Zhou Tian sighed deeply, feeling a little depressed. Next to the sky stone steel, an elder of the Zhou family looked at the final results on the sky stone steel indifferently, and announced it to the public in an indifferent tone. There was no change in his expression. Obviously, Zhou Tian's test had been expected for a long time. Zhou Tian, 9th level of body forging realm. As soon as Elder Zhou's words came out of his mouth, as expected, they caused a commotion of ridicule in the crowded square. 9th level of body forging realm. Has your cultivation level dropped again? Ha 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 ha. Hee, as expected, our great genius Zhou Tian, even if he has practiced crazily this year, has still lost his cultivation level. If the patriarch hadn't been his father, this kind of loser would have been driven out of the family long ago and left to fend for himself. How could he be as good as he is now, staying in the family and eating and drinking for free? The disdainful ridicule from the peers who were also members of the Zhou family, as well as the sighs of regret from some people, all reached Zhou Tian's ears. These sarcastic sounds reached his ears, and Zhou Tian's expression remained unchanged. He was already used to hearing these words. It's just that it goes in through the left ear and out through the right ear, and it doesn't affect his Taoist mind at all. However, what made him feel most guilty was his father. Zhou Tian slowly turned his head and scanned the mocking peers around him one by one. Times have changed and things have changed. These are the true faces of the people. Are they all so mean and powerful? I made them look up to me in the beginning, but now I can only be ridiculed and humiliated by them at will. There was no anger or excessive emotion in Zhou Tian's eyes, but this made him see the warmth and coldness of human relationships more clearly. If he hadn't reached the stage of retreat a few years ago, would they have looked like this? I'm afraid, he is still the envy and adoration of everyone. Once upon a time, he was still so high-spirited and a true genius. Just when he thought his path to genius was beginning to emerge. Unexpectedly, what he thought was the beginning was actually his eternal peak. For inexplicable reasons, he has been able to retreat to the realm of cultivation, and even now, he has fallen to the 9th level of the body forging realm. Thinking of this, Zhou Tian felt a heavy feeling of powerlessness in his heart. He looked at his father on the high platform. You must be very disappointed, right? He has a good character and is a good young man. But it's a pity that my cultivation has regressed inexplicably. Secretly, Qing Lu looked at the young man in the Zhou family's martial arts arena with a look of regret in his eyes. If Zhou Tian hadn't regressed in cultivation, he was sure that Zhou Tian would definitely be a great person in the future. Just now, these have all become a thing of the past. Well, yeah, that's a pity. Beside him, Xie Tianmu also had a complicated look in his eyes. If Zhou Tian hadn't regressed in cultivation and had always been a genius, then why not marry his daughter to him? But now, it's a pity. Is he Zhou Tian? Retrograde cultivation, ridicule from the family, a proper protagonist panel. Zhong Lin also looked at the young man standing in front of the sky stone tablet, and thought to himself in his heart. I just don't know if Zhou Tian has the ring or if it's some unforeseen fate. All this will be known later. He didn't think that Zhou Tian would be a loser in the future. Let's see. Qing Lu shook his head and said no more. Several people did not plan to show up at Zhou's house now, but planned to take a look again. Zhou family, martial arts arena. In the stands. The middle-aged man sitting on the main seat. He is just middle-aged, and there is some white frost on his hair and beard, making him look older than the average person. This middle-aged man is Zhou Yunlu, the head of the Zhou family and Zhou Tian's father. However, his complexion was unusually pale, even his forehead was covered with wrinkles, and he looked extremely haggard. In her hand, she also held a bai wan, covering her mouth with a handkerchief from time to time, and coughing continuously. Surrounding him were the other 5 elders of the Zhou family, all of whom looked a little old. Clan leader, I'm afraid that after today, the family will no longer be able to provide Zhou Tian with training resources. Using the family's cultivation resources, not only has the cultivation level not improved, but it has regressed. After seeing Zhou Tian's results, some elders also frowned, knocked the wooden cane in their hands, and spoke slowly. Yes, clan leader, Zhou Tian's cultivation has regressed to the body forging realm. With these resources, it is better to use them for other disciples in the family. Several elders around him also nodded and began to persuade. For so many years, they have never stopped practicing resources for Zhou Tian, but the result is still the same. Rather than wasting resources on this loser, it would be better to cultivate more good seedlings in the family. Why? Ahem. On the main seat, Zhou Yunlu looked at the result on the stone tablet on the martial arts field. His eyes were full of helplessness, he couldn't help but sigh, and then he coughed violently again. I understand. From now on, I will give all my cultivation resources to Tianer. Zhou Yunlu waved his hand to stop everyone, with helplessness and distress in his eyes. For so many years, he has been hoping that Zhou Tian can make a breakthrough. Pity. After saying all this, Zhou Yunlu was in no state to look any further and wanted to get up and leave. Zhou Tian, who had already come down, had been paying attention to the stands. Seeing his father about to leave, he quickly ran to his father and helped Zhou Yunlu. Father, please slow down. Seeing his father's appearance, Zhou Tian couldn't help but feel a pain in his heart. Xie family, thank Tianmu for visiting. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.